Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
How we doing, everybody? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk, a victory Monday for the ages after the most incredible and improbable comeback in Winnipeg Jets history last night. A game that will be talked about for years around these parts that propelled the Jets against all odds into the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs to take on the Dallas Stars starting on Wednesday in the whiteout downtown Winnipeg for game number one. I'm just going to be straight with you all. I'm still in a state of shock for what we all witnessed last night. It was the craziest, most unlikely comeback, I think. I mean, it was hard to even imagine with what the Jets were dealing with. No Mark Scheifele, your number one center, out. Your number one defenseman, Josh Morrissey, plays 2 minutes and is then out. You give up a goal on the second minute of the game. And then, Matthew Joseph puts one past Connor Hellebuck like this happened earlier in this season. You thought, I can't believe this is the way it is all going down. Now, Cole Perfetti, and we're going to talk a lot about Cole Perfetti today, got some life back into the team in the building with that all-time incredible tip to get the Jets on the board. But then at the end of the second period, Radek Faksa goes in, reestablishes the 2-goal lead, and the Jets were up against it. But what have we seen from this team all year long? A level of resiliency that I don't think we've ever seen in a Winnipeg Jet team come together in the face of a lot of adversity and made history last night. We'll get into where this ranks amongst Game 7s, individual performances, but the Manitoba Miracle was one for the ages. And as I say, I'm not speechless, but I have been in this state since 11 or whatever it was last night when that game ended. And very much looking forward to talking with all of you today about that. Welcome to everybody in the chat. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a few new WSTers after last night joining us today. And definitely give a nice thumbs up. Right off the bat, look at this, man. We've got a whole bunch of super chats. T. Will, you're the man. Thank you so much. FYI for everyone, this week is Mental Health Week, which apparently the Winnipeg Jets have absolutely zero regard for. On a separate note, does anyone remember how to sleep? Was not very easy to sleep last night. And I think sleep was a secondary thought for many Jet fans after last night. Chris Beck, can't think of a better day for a super chat. That Pionk contract not looking too bad, eh? Neil Pionk, legend game last night. And BA 17 for the win. Man, you just couldn't be happier for Adam Lowry. Waiters, Perfetti was 1.6 and Lowry at 16.10. Go Jets, go. Listen, thanks so much. And Derek Schmidt, 10 gifted subs and memberships for other WSTers. Thank you guys so much. Listen, I got to get Remis in here. We are just getting going today. I have a feeling this is going to be, I already know this is going to be one of the most memorable and fun shows we've ever done. And I have a feeling we're going to talk about the Dallas Stars tomorrow and on Wednesday. As you can see, the alarm's going off. Everyone's still losing it. But today it's going to be that. Here's Tikona Polly. Pay my fine for doubting. Had Jets in 6. But after road games in the start Game 7, I mailed it in. Well, F yeah. Hey, listen, just before we bring in Reem, I do want to thank all of our sponsors that make this show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada be cooking up something fun for the upcoming Dallas series. We'll tell you about that, as well as your chance to maybe get to a game courtesy of our friends at Coolbet. Of course, Princess Auto, Ben Moss, Prairie Toyota Dealers, Rolly's Transfer and St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Let's Do It Travel, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, the Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend. We will get to a Why Not question of the day for Not Auto Corp at Waverly and McGillivray, and of course get into fan feedback with the gang over at Fans First. Michael Remis, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm feeling good, man. The buzz hasn't worn off. I got 4 hours sleep, was up very late, posting on all of our social medias, so make sure you do that. And I feel fine. I had a coffee. I'm excited to do this. I've watched highlights of the game over and over to get ramped up here. This is very exciting. And yeah, Connor and I did the post-game reaction, which was very shortly after the game ended from one of these sections in the lower bowl of Canada Life Center. But I'm excited to be here again to discuss everything and listen to reading all the super chats. Appreciate everyone's support and coming out, and we're going to play some of the clips, some of the goal calls, have some great conversations, and everyone's got a story about where they were for Game 7. How were you feeling when they were down? What were you doing when they came back? I know I pretty much fell out of my chair when Perfetti tied it. As I said, I was ready to discuss about another first-round exit. I had to I had to erase everything and start fresh. What an incredible game.
Listen, so many super chats. Thanks, everyone. Rat River Rebel, I gave 16 before game 1. Here's to 12 more. T Winnipeg 204 with 5 gifted memberships for the crew. Shout out to you, my man. That is awesome. Spency, the hype train is rolling. All gas, no brakes. Choo-choo. And then there's T Konopoli in as well. Thanks, everyone, for the incredible support. Reem, I mean, listen, there's so many different ways we can go on this one. I mean, I know you guys sort of broke down the entire game yesterday on the post game, and I mean, I don't think we need to get through all the minutia of earlier on in the game, but what I will say is that there are so many heroes from last night. You mentioned the ice time that Neil Pionk logged, 3 assists in the game. Dylan Sandberg, absolutely awesome. Hayden Fleury coming into the lineup and having a huge impact on the game. And really, Dylan DeMello, Luke Shen, I mean, down to 5 defensemen for pretty much the entire game. And Neil Pionk, get this. Neil Pionk, 8 seconds away from the all-time ice time lead in a Game 7 since 1998 when the NHL's official time on ice tracking began. Chris Pronger, in 99 for the Blues, played 46-18. And Neil Pionk, 46-10 last night. And, of course, assist on the captain, Adam Lowry's double OT winner last night. I mean, Cole Perfetti, Kyle Connor, Nikolai Ehlers, all huge games. I thought Alex Iafallo was a monster in that third period as they pressed to get back and tie the game. Well, first of all, just to get it within 1. And then there's Connor Hellebuck. And Craig Button's going to be on the program a little later on. I'm looking forward to asking Craig what a team victory like this can do for Hellebuck, who by all standards struggled in this series. However, and listen, maybe this is just me, he looked like he was back in the third period and overtime. More aggressive, seemingly more confident, and bottom line, got the job done when his team needed it the most. So there are so many angles coming out of this. But, Reem, listen, I would love to can we play the clips from Edmonds just to get this thing started the right way? Let's first do the tying goal. Listen, there's nothing like the home radio voice for moments like this. Where you can really lean into it. And I don't know if there's anybody that does it better than our pal Paul Edmonds. And I will say this, and some of you that are old enough to remember Dave Ellett's goal in 1990. I was lucky enough to be in the building for that game. That, to me, was the pinnacle of Jets 1.0, and we know how it ended. I mean, they didn't win the series. They won a double overtime game against the hated Edmonton Oilers and got up 3-1. This was Game 7, the first ever Game 7 in Winnipeg. And we wouldn't have had an overtime hero if Cole Perfetti didn't first go into legend mode with his second goal of the game in the dying seconds of the third period. This is Paul Edmonds' call of Perfetti's second that tied the game and sent it to OT.
25 seconds to go. Ehlers will shoot it in. Rims around back in behind the net. After it goes Falk. Up along the boards, knocked down by Connor. Back in behind the net. Slapped around the boards. Ehlers turns and fires from the point. That went off a skate. 13 seconds to go. Winnipeg trying to get it out of a pile. Velarde back in behind the net. Velarde back to the line. Ehlers moves in, shoots, and he fanned on that. Got it back again. Far side, quick shot. Deflected in front. They score! Cole Perfetti with a deflection. 1.6 seconds left in the third period. The Jets have tied it up at 3. Holy smokes! His second of the game. 1.6 seconds left, and Winnipeg has tied it at 3. Unbelievable.
Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps just hearing that. And I know he said holy smokes. When he said holy, I thought that he was maybe on the verge of saying straight up, holy shit, that just happened.
I think if you're ever allowed to, that would certainly be the time. The time's winding down. Nikolai Ehlers is at the point. The puck's already hopped over his stick once, and they had to regroup. That was with 25 seconds left. And they're battling in the corner. The puck squeaks out to him, and he whiffs on the shot, and it gets back to him. And he said, okay, well, I've already whiffed on it a couple times here. Gets it over to Connor, who you thought that he intentionally dished it to Perfetti, but I think he went for the one-timer, and it went off his heel and somehow got on Perfetti's stick, and it went in. I mean, either way, Perfetti with 2 just incredible tip-ins to the net. And again, I fell out of my chair. You're ready, planning, okay, what are we going to talk about on Winnipeg Sports Talk now that the Jets season is done? How are we going to... how are we going to fill this until the draft? What are all these questions about the team moving forward? Another, depressing first-round exit where, you don't have Scheifele, you don't have Morrissey is crazy. It's just how everything flipped at that moment.
The bedlam inside the building, again, at that moment was just, absolute pandemonium, disbelief, shock, everything tied up into one. And that's truly the greatness of sports. Listen, only one team is going to win the Stanley Cup, and there'll be 15 teams that started this tournament that'll end on a sour note, not achieving their goal. But within that journey comes nights like last night, and who knows what's going to happen against the Dallas Stars. It's a hell of a hockey team that the Jets are going up against. They will be under and are underdogs in it, especially considering where their lineup is at heading into it. But that moment, the Cole Perfetti goal and the scenes in the concourse going into overtime was just some of the greatest memories I think we'll ever have. And it did top Dave Ellett in a big, big way. And one of the great Game 7s really of all time in NHL history when you think about the drama that was involved with it. Another super chat, Beat 86. This is Helly's turnaround, bounce back, and all the way to the cup, baby. Let's go. Jeff Kabilis. Strange things have happened in hockey games. Me to my father-in-law went down 3-1. Enjoy the victory. 2 days of rest for Jets and fans. Reset time. And a nice one as well from Sandy Sharp. Sandy, thank you very much. By the way, tickets are, I believe they went on sale. The remaining availability went on sale at noon. So I haven't checked it, but if you're looking to try to get your hands on seats, I'd head over there right now and see what is available. Of course, the Jets are playing Dallas, not only because Perfetti was able to tie it up in the dying seconds of the third period, but because Adam Lowry stamped his name into Winnipeg Jets history with the deflection on the OT winner shot by Neil Pionk. This was the winning goal last night by Paul Edmonds.
For Kyle Connor, darts around. Connor back toward the line. Pionk walks the line, wrists it through traffic. He scores! Deflected in front by the captain, Adam Lowry. Jets win! Jets win! Jets win! In double overtime tonight! What a comeback! And they'll move along in the series and win it 4-3. Bring on the Dallas Stars. The whiteout has been held over to the second round for the first time since 2018. Lowry's third of the playoffs. And the Winnipeg Jets have done the unthinkable, coming back to beat the St. Louis Blues. They were down 3-1 until late in the third period. What a game. What a series. What a night. 4-3 the final in double overtime for the Jets. Baby!
Just absolutely epic. Paul Edmonds last night on 680 CJOB. I could listen to that on a loop for the rest of this show, but we're going to have Mike McIntyre join us coming up, and Craig Button as well, which should be a heck of a lot of fun. I got to give a quick show. We're going to hear from some of the coaches and the players from last night before Mike jumps on. But I went on the check-in yesterday with Sarah and Jamie. And, I mean, listen, it was Game 7. This was about getting people ready to go and, knowing that the crowd could be a huge, huge part of the Jets' success. And Remis, I mean, I'm sure you could see from the press box. I mean, the entire building was basically on their feet for the entire duration of overtime last night. And, we talk a lot about the whiteout, but there's also been all this talk about the Jets' playoff history. The one thing that's changed in the biggest way from this series, not only did they find a miraculous way to beat a hell of a good hockey team in the St. Louis Blues, but they have completely flipped the playoff history with losing at home in the biggest moments. I mean, the Jets' home record left a lot to be desired. And this is even when they were doing well. Think about the Nashville series. I mean, they lost Game 6 at home. They had to go on the road to win that. And it seems for the first time, I don't know if you agree, but the whiteout, and maybe it's the connection between what this team has done this year and the fans that have supported them all the way, or the fact that they really have built that belief in themselves, and that sort of headed, kind of bled into the fan base. I don't know how to explain it, but make no mistake about it. You heard it from players after the game. Every single person in that building, I think, had a little piece of that win last night, and they'll get a chance to do it again when the Stars come to town for Games 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think the whiteout you saw propelled the team to 4 wins at home in the series, and it is interesting that when these two teams met in 2019, the road team won each of the first 4 games, and you saw the crowd yesterday in overtime all on their feet, and there were a couple moments where, they were certainly part of the game and affected the game. Kyle Connor is going for a change in overtime, and the puck squirts near him. Everyone starts yelling, and you saw him look around and find the puck before going off for the change. Connor, on our post-game reaction video, mentioned there was a moment where Nikolai Ehlers had the puck in his feet. Everyone's yelling feet, and he looked down and found it in his feet. That kind of stuff doesn't happen on the road, and the crowd certainly behind it. It really livened up after that Perfetti tip, the first one. I mean, how could you not after that goal? I did not know that the physics of that goal was even possible, Perfetti's first goal. He just stood there at the side of the net. Connor shoveled a pass off his blade. Went in and out so fast. Binnington couldn't even react. The crowd certainly brought it on their feet for the entire overtime. I mean, as I was sitting there, could barely sit still. I could barely type, just knowing what kind of show we would have today if they won. And shout out to the 1,000 plus right now.
Whoa!
In
Speaking
chat.
of crowds.
Speaking of crowds, so show it to everyone. And the super chats here are absolutely insane. So thank you, everyone, for your support coming out here. But it was, that was an experience we're going to be talking about for a long time. Everyone's got a story. Where were they? You're seeing videos online of some team at a hockey game, adult hockey game here. They're on the bench watching, and the ref jumps into the bench to celebrate with them. It went from so bad to euphoria over the course of the entire game.
Yeah, and I know I promised when I was talking to Nielsen earlier on the Lock Shop that we'll be doing a check the receipts segment with some of the takes, some of the comments, some of the things that were said by some of you and many Blues fans on social media, blowing up in their faces spectacularly. So we'll have some fun with that. Dan, Jets fan, by the way, Super Chat. It was a real roller coaster ride, and I'm glad that we survived the accelerated heart rate and blood pressure. No kidding. And Kevin K, Pionk and Perfetti, LFG. All right, listen, we're going to hear from the coach. Mike's going to join us in about 15 minutes or so. Just before we do that, the Jets are moving on to the second round. And if you are moving on maybe to a new home or a new destination, our friends at Roley's Transfer have you covered. Family owned and operated for over 60 years, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, and a great partner of WST. Check them out online, roleys.com. You can click on request an estimate. Make sure to put in the promo code WST for a special discount for WST listeners, and then let them know when you're planning on moving, where you're moving to, and everything that needs to go. And Roley's will turn it around with a great quote to get you the white glove service that Roley's is famous for. For all your moving needs, make it Roley's. Check them out online at roleys.com today. I got to shout out Donnie and the Manitoba Battery Gang. You want to talk about a boost, a shot of energy. That was what the whiteout did for the Winnipeg Jets last night. That's what Cole Perfetti did for the whiteout. And it's time for us to remind you to wake up and stop overpaying for batteries and go to our friends at Manitoba Battery for all your battery needs. Tell your friends and family, neighbors, there's only one place to get the best price and great quality for the batteries you need. You can save $50 a battery this spring by driving by the big box store to Manitoba Battery for your campers, your boats, everything that you're getting ready to dominate the summer. It's that simple. Better service, great quality. You save a ton of money by shopping at Manitoba Battery, your local option here in Winnipeg. And of course, there's two locations. The original on Logan Avenue, but Dovercourt Drive for all of you in the South End. Absolute no-brainer. Give them a phone call, 783-8787. Free delivery inside the perimeter as well with purchases over $60. You can learn more and order at manitobabattery.com. I got back home last night, and like many of you, and looked at what K&R were doing and the IC guys and just kind of taking it all in. And then, excuse me, sorry about the alarm. Just it's a heat check right now on this program with everything that's going on. I did pop out onto the balcony at about 3:30 or so, and I cracked one of the new Canadian Club ready-to-drink cocktails, and it was one of the best of my entire life. I went for the CC and Ginger Ale, which is the original favorite, but you can also grab the new Citrus Smash and the new Half and Half. And, of course, the Half and Half, basically like an Arnold Palmer with, of course, Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey. They're on sale all month long in the variety pack, which you can grab at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And, of course, keep your eye out for the iconic Canadian whiskey, the original, the standard Canadian Club at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And, hey, a lot of smiles around this town today. And I know our friends at St. Vital Dental Center are right in that same boat, and they're making those smiles look better. Of course, they've been serving generations in the St. Vital area, generations of Winnipeggers for customers and clients from 6 months all the way to 99 plus, with a full array of dental services led by our pal Dr. Terry and his amazing staff. They got a beautiful new location, state-of-the-art technology, convenient free parking in the back at 167 St. Anne's. So if it's been a minute since you've been to the dentist, pop on down and see Dr. Terry and the gang at St. Vital Dental Center. You can find out all of their services and make an appointment to pop in and see them online at stviteldental.ca. All right, what a season for Scott Arniel. Cannot say enough about the job that he has done. He is a finalist for the Jack Adams, absolutely deserving of it, but maybe under the most difficult circumstances last night, made some of the most crucial choices and decisions he's ever done as a head coach. And, well, we all know how it turned out. Here is what Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel had to say after the game.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. It was, I've seen a lot of hockey games, been around a lot of hockey games. To be a part of that was one of the most exciting games I've been a part of. And it was thrilling. You know, we were extremely nervous to start the game, got down quickly, but just our resolve, just our ability to stay in it, pretty much that's all I kept preaching, just hang in there, hang in there. We watched it last night with Colorado and Dallas, them staying in it, and it was stay into it and keep doing what we do, and we got stronger as the game went on. We got out of that first period, and then, you know what, after that, you know, it was a battle, and, you know, to tie that game up at the end, that's you know, it was amazing, exciting. It was just, I would think anybody watching that one will leave that one in their memory banks for a long time.
There's Scott Arniel on the incredible win last night. Now, as he mentioned, it did not start well. It, in fact, started in disastrous fashion for Winnipeg, giving up a goal in the first 90 seconds, and then another one going in on Connor Hellebuyck that just simply doesn't normally go in. And the Jets were behind the 8 ball at 2-0 very early. Here's what Arnie had to say about the slow start for his team.
It reminded me of the first period in Game 1. The nerves. It seemed like nobody wanted to make a play. We got rid of pucks really quickly. We actually sat back, kind of allowed them. I mean, even on the first goal, they came down. They skated 200 feet. Came down the ice to make that play, and it was kind of us on our heels, and that was pretty much the message. And it was the message from our leaders. It was a message for me, like, let's go here. Let's get up on our toes. Let's get in attack mode. We're no good sitting back, and that's not us. And we just did a great job of, turning the tide and getting back to playing the way we can.
Yeah, Reem, the theme of Jet playoff conversations for the last couple of years has been pushback. And of course, maybe we'll get to this later on, a really awesome interaction between the captain, Adam Lowry, and his former head coach, Rick Bowness, on TNT last night. It took a little while, but there certainly was pushback. There was pushback from the team. There was also pushback from Connor Hellebuyck when the team needed it the most. But here's what Arniel had to say to his team after a really tough first period in a high-stakes Game 7.
There's 40 minutes to go, and we hadn't even started to go yet. The biggest thing for me is that we did a really good job of our forecheck, and we got hunting in that second period, and, we created turnovers, and that first 10 minutes of that second period, that was us. That was us playing our game, and, it took a while. That power play goal was huge. Obviously got the building ignited again. Not that they weren't, but it really got them into it, and once it was 2-1, it was just, we had some opportunities to tie that up long before we went 6-on-5, but just like the way that there was no quit. And you know what, I gotta shout out to our defense, those 5 guys, the workload that they had to throw in there. They did a great job, and then obviously, you guys stepping up and having to play big roles, and it was a awesome effort by everybody.
There's a very proud head coach, Scott Arniel. I see another super chat from John Henry Eden. I'll fully admit, when we went down 2-0, I was angry and ready for us to trade Hellebuyck. When we won, I damn near shed a tear. I love you, Hellebuyck. And and again, we'll get to this in the next couple days as we get closer to Game 1 against the Dallas Stars. But the Jets, for a long time, Connor Hellebuyck has been the guy that, this team really leaned on, maybe too much at times. Hellebuyck wasn't at his best really at any point for the most part in this series, except when they needed it the most, come overtime and in the third period last night. But this was This was a team without their top center, without their top defenseman, coming together and picking up their MVP. And you wonder what this could mean for Connor moving into the next round with that first round monkey off the back, and knowing that, this team simply will not quit, and is capable of some pretty special things. Here's some more from Arniel. And there was a lot of adjustments, a lot of line switching, especially in the third period. Here's what he had to say about all the buttons he pressed in the midst of that comeback.
You're going to make adjustments. You're going to have to do things because the opposition's maybe making some changes. You don't want to get away from your identity and a lot of the things you do, but it does happen. I think you talk to any coaches after a series is over, you have to make changes, and we had to along the way. They had to. That was as heavy a series as I've seen in a long time. There was no ice that wasn't contested and no player that wasn't going to get knocked into the wall. It was, St. Louis, that was what they've done the last 3 months, and, these 7 games, that was a tough out. That was a really tough out. And you know what, they made us battle for every inch. And, I tip my hat to Monty, what he's done since he's got there. They, without a doubt, were one of the best teams in the league there since 4 Nations, and they're hard to play against. And I really not happy that they're in the Central Division, but that's our division, and I can't credit Monty enough. He, as we said there, we made adjustments, and then all of a sudden it was that chess match. They did something, and we had to try to find the answer to that, and that's what it was the whole series. And you know what? 2 buildings. Our building obviously was absolutely amazing. Absolutely how loud it was. It was loud in St. Louis as well, but that was one for the ages.
Nothing like the whiteout, and home ice ended up being the difference. It was everybody held serve through 7 games, and it was in the whiteout where the final win was gotten. Another hot take alert here on WST. He spoke about just how physical this series was, and I agree. I mean, it was absolutely relentless, particularly from the Blues. And, the Jets have the bumps and bruises and missing players to show for it. Here's what Arnie had to say, though, about everyone on the club stepping up with the big physical nature of this series.
It took a lot out of us, obviously. Not having either one of those guys for most of that game is huge. And any team, any coach would tell you that when you lose those type of players. But just, again, it was game 5 here when we lost Scheif, and all those centermen had to step up, and our the forward group had to step up. Well, tonight it was our defensive group that stepped up, and can't speak enough about how great they were.
All right, Mike is about to jump in. We'll hear from Ehlers and Kyle Connor a little later on, Adam Lowry, and certainly Cole Perfetti. But here is just one more from Scott Arniel on his team just getting over the hump in the fashion that they did last night.
Yeah, the hardest thing in the NHL is to win the first round. It really is. You build confidence as you can, but it's so hard to get through that first round. And there's a lot of doubt at times. There's obviously lots of excitement. But for our group, just for me, in the sense of being here in just the 3 years, to lose in those first rounds, those were heartbreaking. And last year, obviously with the season we had, to do it this year, we didn't want to go out. We didn't want to. That was one of the messages I send to these guys, that bring your best game forward, and have no regrets. And that's what it was all about. And that's what I thought that. After we got through the first, that's what happened. Everybody, nobody wanted to be done. Nobody wanted to be done playing this year, and that was special.
All right, there is head coach Scott Arniel. More from the coach and some of the players a little later on. But Mike McIntyre is locked and loaded from the Winnipeg Free Press. This segment's brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers, who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, and it's backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. Can we talk about how good this truck looks too? Toyota Tundra, turning heads everywhere it goes. 154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with 66.99 down, and hybrid available as well for the Toyota Tundra. Find out more, get online and visit shoptoyota.ca. All right, let's bring in Mike McIntyre. And Mike, we've had some great conversations over the years on the old station and here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. But I'm not sure we've ever had one like the one we're about to have. I still am somewhat in disbelief. You're a Winnipegger like I am, lifelong. We remember the disappointments. We remember the Dave Ellett goal and then losing the next three. For the Winnipeg Jets to rewrite playoff history and do it in the fashion that they did without Mark Scheifele, without Josh Morrissey, and they got Connor Hellebuck back just in time as well. I mean, it is not hyperbole to say this is the most incredible, probably sporting win in Winnipeg history for the drama that it had and the fact that this team was basically down and out and did something that no team in NHL history had done last night.
Yeah, you could argue there's been a few bigger wins in terms of the stakes, but none have matched the drama, clearly. And in fact, you could make the case this is one of the most dramatic wins in Stanley Cup playoff history, because it is. The Jets, it's historical. It really is, and it's inexplicable. I can't even imagine being a fan on the other side of that. Like, we're obviously seeing what Jets fans, how they feel. We saw it, we heard it, we lived it. I can't even imagine the opposite side of that spectrum. That is soul crushing. I mean, and that's to me, Huss, like, this would have been a remarkable story, obviously, just the way they tied the game, but they had to finish the story. They really did. And because otherwise, what became the most remarkable win in franchise history would have become the most soul-crushing loss in franchise history, because I think a lot of fans would probably agree, if you lose that game in overtime or double overtime, like, you'd rather get blown out 10-0 than lose like that. And that's where, I mean, the Jets really dug deep, and you could see it, the way they played in that overtime with 5D and guys just absolutely running on fumes. And, mistakes happen. Mistakes are always going to happen, especially as guys get tired. How about the one by Gabe Vilardi that coughs the puck up that goes off the post? Like that. It is incredible, Huss, how many things had to go right. And I don't know about you. How many times have you watched the Cole Perfetti goal back?
A few.
I'm gonna set the over/under on 50 and suggest the majority of Jets fans are on the over. So I've watched it back probably over 100 times, and part of that is because of my job. I just filed a piece which will be up online in the next hour or two, literally breaking the goal down, like frame by frame, second by second, looking at everything that happened. And Huss, when you break down the minutia, it is insane how many little tiny battles the Jets had to win, where if anything, it's like the butterfly effect. Like, if anything had not occurred the way it did, the goal doesn't happen. So everything from that board battle with 11 seconds left and the puck pinned, if Gabe Vilardi doesn't Hoover vacuum that up with his stick and skated out of that pack, the season is over. If his backhand pass to Adam Lowry doesn't bounce off Pavel Buchnevich's skate and right onto the stick of Lowry, the season's over. If Nikolai Ehlers' initial shot, which was a whiff, if that doesn't whiff and go to Lowry, who has to box out Robert Thomas and get positioning just to get his stick back on that puck, and his only play is to fling it back to Ehlers. If that doesn't happen, the season's over. If Ehlers doesn't fire one of the crispiest cross-ice passes you'll ever see to Kyle Connor. And if Kyle Connor doesn't immediately one-time that, there was no time to stop that puck and try and pick a corner or get set. And if Cole Perfetti isn't in the perfect position right between Justin Falk and Colton Parayko, and if you watch it back, Falk actually kind of lays out to try and block the Connor shot, which kind of opens a seam, which it is remarkable. All these things had to happen. And if you want to rewind a few seconds earlier, like the Blues just missed the empty net by a few feet. Otherwise, all of this is moot. So it's just like, I don't normally subscribe to the whole, destiny and whatnot. But I mean, how can you not watch all of that play out and not say that it was fate, it was destiny that they were going to tie that? And then at that point, you're like, well, either the hockey gods have the cruelest sense of humor imaginable and are going to now rip this out of Winnipeg's hands, or they're going to find a way to get the job done, and they did. And you're right. I mean, that was take off the reporter hat for a second, which I will here. The Winnipegger hat. I mean, how can you not feel great for this community? And it was a reminder, seeing what that rink was like. The fans literally standing for all of overtime and double overtime. The scenes outside, the scenes everywhere. It reminds us how sports can unite, and it's just the beautiful thing about sports. It really is.
Yeah, I went down afterwards to in and around the Howard Chuck statue, and then into the plaza, and there were hundreds of people that were in various states of celebration,
inebriation.
But yeah, well, listen, they were. Shout out to the girls at the 316 bar. They didn't leave for overtime. They were there.
I left the rink last night at about 1:15 a.m. and I had a bit of a walk back to my car. There was still a cavalcade of cars driving around honking. So like, it's just round one, but my goodness, it gives you a glimpse as to what hockey means to this community. And I was in Edmonton last year for the Stanley Cup Final, Game 6. For me, that was the most surreal scene I've ever seen. Like, as a sports writer, what that city was like. When they needed to win Game 6 to force Game 7. But I mean, that city was electric. Last night, obviously, round one is not the Stanley Cup Final. Last night, Winnipeg reminded me in a major way of what that felt like, and it gives you a glimpse of what this city would potentially be like the further they go along. It's remarkable.
Well, you mentioned kind of the destiny, or just the incredible nature of what happened. It was May the 4th yesterday.
Yes.
And I'm never been a big Star Wars guy, but I absolutely believe in the Force now. And
it was with them.
I see Natalie with the super chat. Thanks, Nat. The Force was with them in magical numbers. They should play the Star Wars theme song when the team comes out from now on. You'd have some good laughs on that. There's the crew after the game in and around the Howard Chuck statue afterwards. I mean, listen, there's so many angles. We could talk about this game literally for a week,
yes,
and still probably not get to it all. I mean, obviously, we've seen, and we're going to hear what the guys sort of were saying, in front of the microphones, but you've done a million of these, Mike. Players coming in, talking after wins, talking after losses. What sort of stood out to you about the reaction of the squad and just everything happening sort of behind the scenes after that win last night?
Well, what stood out to me was the exhaustion. If there was one thing that was maybe tempering how excited everyone was, it's that guys didn't have the energy to really go to town. Because you look at the minutes guys played, and again, these are heavy minutes. That's here. I've been watching. I'm 50 years old. I've been watching the Stanley Cup playoffs since I was 5. that's as physical and intense of a 7-game series as I've ever seen. I had the numbers before yesterday. There was close to 500 combined hits. That was prior to yesterday's game. I didn't look what the totals ended up being last night. I'm going to guess that there was another 100 hits maybe in that game. So the amount of physicality in that series, and now when there's no margin for error, like the overtime and double overtime, like just the wear and tear on the body and on the mind. We don't talk about the effect on the mind, but that's mentally draining for these guys. So, that's what struck me the most, that these guys were absolutely exhausted, and, players would be exhausted no matter what, and that's if you had a full roster. The fact the Jets got 2 minutes or 3 minutes out of Josh Morrissey, and they were 209. So, I saw a lot of the comments about Neil Pionk after he signed the extension. To me, Neil Pionk, he made as big a statement as anybody last night, that he is a big game player, and I don't think you can earn the full value of your contract in one night. He came pretty darn close. 46 minutes off 59 shifts, 3 assists. The guy was everywhere doing everything. And he's taken the body, blocks. Neil, that was an all-timer game from Neil Pionk, stepping up in the absence of Josh Morrissey. And to me, that's one of the biggest storylines. I know, we talk obviously the Perfetti goal and then the Lowry goal, which actually looked like the Pionk goal. I watched that back a few times, Huss. I think Lowry said it hit him in the pants or something. It actually looks like it didn't hit Lowry, but who cares at this point, right? But I mean, there was so many, on the back end especially. Hayden Fleury, my goodness, how does Hayden Fleury come out of this lineup? He can't. He simply can't. You cannot take Hayden Fleury out of this lineup. I don't care if Logan Stanley it was a minor thing, if that's what it is, and he's good to go. You can't take Hayden Fleury out. Now, we'll see. We don't know what Josh Morrissey's status is. It may be that Fleury and Stanley are both in. But regardless, Hayden Fleury has to be in your lineup. And again, I'm not saying this to critique Logan Stanley. I'm trying to envision what last night would have looked like, Huss, if the Jets were down to 5D and Hayden Fleury wasn't one of them, and Logan Stanley was. And I say that because I just don't know that Logan Stanley could play almost 30 minutes that Fleury played. And with the mobility that Hayden Fleury had, the amount of times he skated pucks out of trouble, made great reads. To me, the unsung heroes are all 5 of those defensemen. I thought Luke Shen had a really good game where he had really struggled in some games. Luke Shen was a beast out there. Dylan Samberg, probably the most underrated guy. We don't talk about him nearly enough. He must have killed a million plays again last night with his great stick, and obviously was right behind Pionk in terms of minutes. And Dylan DeMello without his usual partner. And so everything was thrown into chaos. You got literally all 5 guys played with each other. You had guys potentially move into offsides. It was chaos. And, the D, without that performance from the D, that comeback victory wouldn't have been possible. Yeah.
It's going to be legacy defining for so many, as well as the team. And listen, they didn't make it easy for themselves. They never do. A very tough start. But I just keep telling myself, Mike, this team was able to beat a very, very good St. Louis team without Scheifele, without Morrissey, and let's face it, without the Connor Hellebuck that they played with all season long.
Agreed.
And Hellebuck has the opportunity. We talk about legacy defining. I mean, this won't be like, we'll always remember Helly was really shaky and they found a way to win. And his has the opportunity to change all the narratives with a great series moving forward against the Dallas Stars. But I think Neil Pionk absolutely, I mean, and I think back to no one remembers the Oilers series because there was no fans at the games. But to your point about being a big game player, he was such a pain in the ass for Connor McDavid in that series and was, maybe outside of Hellebuck, who had the 3 OT wins, arguably the most impactful player in that series as far as, what happened and what the Oilers weren't able to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that he and Dylan Sandberg from the same small town in Minnesota combined for 90 minutes and Pionk 8 seconds short of the all-time ice record in a Game 7, put himself into Winnipeg Jets history and lore. And then the other guy that we have to get into is Cole Perfetti, who a year ago, Mike, at times wasn't even in the lineup. All year long, we've talked about the development, how he's got more fight in his game, how he's sort of learned some of the lessons as to what he has to do to be an impactful player in this league, especially when things get turned up come playoff time. And I thought that he was great throughout the series, but was a little snake bit, had some really good opportunities. Binnington making great saves, just missing the net. And in the biggest moment with the biggest stakes, Cole Perfetti became a Winnipeg Jet legend. He could retire tomorrow and he would go down in history as, the author, or one of the key authors of the moment that will never be forgotten.
So obviously the 2 goals he scored, and his first goal last night was a beauty too. And that also was a big goal, not as clutch obviously as his second, Huss, but think of the circumstance. Jets were down 2-0. They didn't have much going. They get their first power play of the game. I had said at the time, this is a must-score power play, and Cole Perfetti took 7 seconds into that power play to get a perfect tip of Kyle Connor's feed. It wasn't just the goals for me though, Huss. I think it was in the third period. Cole Perfetti absolutely trucked Pavel Buchnevich, steamrolled him. And you don't see Cole Perfetti do that very often.
I didn't know he had that club in his bag, Mike. I'll be honest.
Well, that's him channeling his inner prick. And but that tells you a lot about the player, that he is fully engaged, fully invested. He recognizes what playoffs are all about. And to me, that was as big as almost anything he did in the game. To go after, then Buchnevich is a big, strong man, and he sent him on his backside.
I like the hit. I'll still vote for the 2 goals, including the tying goal that sent the game to overtime.
But that's the buy-in that maybe hasn't always been there, but it takes some time to develop. And Cole Perfetti has absolutely arrived, and he's not just a nice companion piece on a line with talented players. He can be a driver of a line. He's driving the bus. And just, again, to go back to the approximately 100 times I've watched his tying goal, he's in that board battle initially. It's him, Velarde, and Lowry. So he's fighting, and there's some big men in that battle, two Blues defenders as well. And then when the Jets come away with that puck, he goes to the hard area of the ice, right where Fowler, Parayko and Falk are, and there's a price to be paid, and he's willing to pay it, and he gets rewarded for it. So, just watching him, if you just isolate him on that game-tying goal, you see a player with supreme confidence, who knows what it takes. And that as much as, there's a lot of great developments for the Jets. Morgan Barron's arrival as well has been a real pleasant surprise. But Perfetti, for sure, because of his scoring ability, that is a massive one for the Jets.
Well, and you mentioned Hayden Fleury. I thought he was absolutely one of the unsung heroes of the game last night. But as Scott Arniel switched up the lines We didn't see as much Mason Appleton or Dominic Toninato down the stretch.
Yeah.
There was a couple players that I don't think, there's almost not enough time to single everybody out, but Vlad Nemetsnikov, I mean, with the goal to even give this a chance of happening. And I tell you what, Mike, I thought Alex Iafallo in that third period was at his absolute best. And throughout overtime, I mean, the amount of defensive plays that he made, winning battles, keeping the puck on his stick, getting to his teammates. I mean, listen, you can go down the list. I mean, through the third period and through overtime, I mean, there were no passengers, that's for sure. No. But some guys that maybe don't end up on the score sheet as much, still massive, massive impacts. I thought AI was absolutely one of those guys. And Adam Lowry was one until he became the overtime hero with the double OT deflection off of Neil Pionk.
Well, and again, I know Connor Hellebuck, he looked like a fish out of water on that first goal. I would argue the third goal is one he's got to have that, and that looked like a backbreaker, right? Because the Jets had fought their way back into that game. Not only had they cut the deficit to 1, they had some other good chances, and then for that goal in the final minute of the second, like that felt like, okay, that's it. But to Connor Hellebuck's credit, he stood tall from that point on, and he shut the door, and they needed it. And you wonder psychologically, Huss, sort of slaying the proverbial dragon. And now it's like everybody can exhale a little bit, because now there's not this narrative about, oh, same old Jets, can't get the job done, fraud squad, chokers, whatever, all those narratives. They've put that to rest, and they would have put that to rest if they won 5-1 yesterday, but I'd say the way they won that game really puts that to bed. So now that's all in the past. And I don't care that this group, John Arniel kept saying, we don't talk about the past. Maybe they don't. They're all aware of it. They've lived it. But they now it's all about the present. And so they've parked that in the rearview mirror. I'd say, I mean, obviously Dallas is going to be a juggernaut as well. If there's one thing maybe that the Jets have going for them, it's that their opponent just survived barely, just like they did. And it took everything for Dallas to get out of that series. This isn't a team that cruised through the first round unscathed. And there's a lot of similarities. Dallas was also without its top forward, arguably, in Jason Robertson, and its top defenseman. Obviously, the health of guys like Morrissey and Scheifele now will be key. One development for me is Nikolai Ehlers. I know he had a rough game at times last night, but I love the fact that he wasn't afraid to still try and make plays. With more reps, and Gabe Vilardi was his most impactful by far yesterday. Vilardi and Ehlers did not even start the series. They're both out there making key plays in that game-tying goal. That's a great development for the Jets. I think the fact Mark Scheifele was skating on Saturday, again, we'll get an update tomorrow, but that's got to be seen as a positive. And we don't know the extent of Josh Morrissey, other than you got to think if there was a way that he could have found his way back into that game, he would have. So guys aren't sitting out for precautionary reasons in Game 7. We know that. How quickly can he heal up from whatever happened to him? And I know there was some, where do you stand on this, Haas? People were all over it in my feed thinking that was a headshot. I watched it back over and over. I saw no head contact. I saw hard shoulder contact on Morrissey, and I thought his shoulder was what really took the brunt.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. And listen, it kind of made more sense when you think back to the last couple of games where at times it seemed like Josh Morrissey had really been laboring. And let's face it, he was targeted for 60 minutes every single night by the St. Louis Blues. And they did a hell of a good job of making the Winnipeg Jet defenders pay the price.
Yeah, so there was people going nuts saying, oh, another headshot knocks a Jet player out. No, that was a good, hard, clean check. And And the fact that Morrissey was back out on the next shift and actually threw a check himself, where that's to me where it looked like that was almost like him testing it out. And the way he kind of went off did not look great for his shoulder. So we'll obviously have to see where that's at. But again, this Jets team, like, it almost feels like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. They've got Velarde and Ehlers back. That's great. But all of a sudden, Scheifele and Morrissey are now out of the lineup. But hey, that's playoffs. And one thing the Jets really have going for them, I think they used, by my count, 15 different forwards, 8 different defensemen, and both goaltenders in round 1. They got a lot of guys that got a taste of what it takes. And so whoever the 18 skaters that are penciled into that game 1 lineup are, you know that they'll be ready.
Mike, man, I mean, we could do this for another 2 or 3 hours. I mean, I think pretty much everyone, people are not going to stop talking about this, maybe beyond game 1 of the next series, but certainly these next couple days are.
It's a moment that literally, like, any kids that were at the game last night, they'll be telling their grandkids about, like, a couple generations. And that was a generational Manitoba sports moment, no question.
You know, I saw Stan Fischler, someone mentioned in chat, Stan Fischler, who covered the National Hockey League for 60 years, tweeted that was the greatest thing that he's seen in the NHL in 60 years of covering the game. And
imagine you were a new fan to the game. Imagine you only started watching the NHL on Saturday, and your first 2 introductions were Game 7 of Dallas, Colorado, and Game 7 of Winnipeg, St. Louis. Like, good luck even coming close to matching that kind of bar that's been raised. That might have been the greatest sort of 26 hours in NHL playoff history, just for the storylines, the drama. I mean, everything. It had it all. And I said this before round 1 began, that I just felt like this had the potential to be the best first round of the playoffs in ages. And I know a few of the series out east especially were shorter. Other than the Carolina series, which I must admit I barely paid attention to, I thought every series delivered. This was a fantastic first round of the playoffs. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but for all the people out there that want the playoff format changed, what we just saw over these last 2 weeks is Exhibit A why this format is not going to be changed anytime soon. It's great theater.
Yeah, listen, I'm not sure that the series would be that different if they went to the 1-8. I mean, I think in some ways you probably, listen, a division like the Central where, you know, the Dallas Stars or whatever, 3rd overall and on the road in the second round. That happened the same thing with the Jets in Nashville, though, back in 17-18. They were 1-2 in the league and played each other in the second round. But yeah, listen, all smiles, I'm sure, at NHL HQ for the incredible drama that was brought in this St. Louis-Winnipeg series, which went not to 1, but 2 overtimes last night and had the most incredible Game 7 late comeback in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Before we go, are you in Dallas on the weekend?
I am, yes. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I will be heading there Saturday morning, and some good start times for the road games. Anyways, a matinee on Sunday, and then the Jets get they get the whole league to themselves next Tuesday with a primetime 7 p.m. start. And I imagine downtown Winnipeg will be absolutely electric again on Wednesday and Friday this week. This is just set up to be just a fantastic second round series as well.
Yeah, there will be a fired up and well lubricated crowd for those 8:50 puck drops on Wednesday and Friday night for the Jets and the Dallas Stars. Mike, thanks so much, man.
Yeah.
We'll remember this conversation amongst the thousands that we've had over the years, and I can't wait to do many more throughout the playoffs as the series shifts to round 2. Jets and Dallas coming up. Thanks for doing this, dude.
Right on. Have a great week.
Good stuff. There's Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press with us here on WST. All right, we got to get to, well, you know, we'll do the question of the day for not in a bit. And we'll do, I mean, fan feedback. This entire show has basically been fan feedback. I can't ever remember the chat as lit as it is right now. And again, pushing 1,200 in chat right now. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button. Let's get that well over 500 with over 1,000 people watching live. And if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button because we're moving on to round 2. And the shows are just going to get that much more fun as we continue the party here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Sean at Let's Do It Travel. He said, you know what, my spot today, just talk about Cole Perfetti. Well, listen, we're going to talk plenty about Cole Perfetti, but always love to see WSTers support other WSTers. And, Sean mentioned, when you're making these travel decisions, you want to make sure you're stretching your travel dollar the furthest and making the best choices because of how precious that vacation time is on that all-inclusive, or God forbid you're planning a destination wedding, want to hit all the right notes. That's where Let's Do It Travel comes in, getting the most out of your vacation and stretching your dollar further. So give them a follow over on Instagram at Let's Do It Travel WPG, or check them out online at letsdoittravel.com. And here's the kicker. Let's Do It Travel will waive their booking fees for WST listeners. Just let Sean know we sent you. You got a buddy in the travel business with Let's Do It Travel. So get in touch today at Let's Do It Travel WPG on Insta. I got to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their amazing support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And listen, Princess Auto is really synonymous with Winnipeg. Founded here in the Peg, headquartered here in Winnipeg, and now coast to coast, but with 3 locations here in Manitoba, and of course sponsoring Whiteout Mania. So if you haven't picked up those whiteout signs yet, feel free to get down to Princess Auto ASAP and maybe join the party right now for the playoffs. Of course, Whiteout Mania promotion on the Jets website continues as well. Go to winnipegjets.com/whiteoutmania and follow the instructions for your chance to potentially win tickets to the Whiteout, courtesy of Princess Auto. Again, Princess Auto, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and Brandon out for our friends over in Westman. Got a great email from Pitt at Aikens Lake today. On cloud 9, like so many other Jet fans are right now. I cannot wait to get out to Aikens this year, but as we say, like everything, it can wait, because the Jets are still rolling in the Stanley Cup playoffs. If you are interested in finding out more about a world-class fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake is the spot. Check them out online at aikenslake.com, and you can also check them out on all the social channels at Aikens Lake to see more about what the Aikens experience is all about. And hey, shout out to Andrew over at F Apparel, who also got a text from Andrew after the game, like all of us, in complete disbelief. But folks, if you are needing to up your menswear game heading into wedding season, grads and all that, F is the place to do it. Custom suits starting at $400, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, and the biggest and best selection of menswear accessories in town. If you are in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the guys at F about a great discount when the fellas get their suits for the big day. And don't forget the grad promo still on for a free shirt and tie with the purchase of any suit for those 2025 grads. Wow. Zach Schnitzy. What an incredible super chat. I got to get to this right now. Us, Remo, Liz, Connor, like many here, you provide me with 10 plus hours of insight, news, entertainment, and my favorite part, the opportunity to connect with other fans. Also, if you're not on the WST Discord, you're missing out. Thank you for your tireless work. Listen, Nitzy, thank you. And thank everyone that's along for the ride right now as we push record numbers. And after a record-setting, insane game that no one is ever going to forget. We're going to talk about it actually coming up with Craig Button in a few minutes. But Remo, let's get to. I want to get to a few of the player comments because I think this will be a good sort of setup as we get into our conversation with Craig. Let's get to Nikolai Ehlers. And Ehlers, I'm so happy that Ehlers got a chance to be a part of this. because he's had a real star-crossed playoff history for the Jets. His greatest highs were in the COVID series where nobody was there. He didn't score in the trip to the conference finals early on, and then had to deal with Brian Hartman cheap shots and things like that had kept him out of the lineup, and we didn't even know if he was going to be able to be a part of this series. So Ehlers, for his time as a Jet, now a big part of arguably the most famous goal in 2.0 history. This is 11, Reem. Here's Ehlers on his feeling when Perfetti scored to tie the game late in the third.
Joy. Yeah, I mean, what was it, 1.3 left? Just shows there's no quitting this team, and I think the third period we were unbelievable, and we had chances to put it in the back of the net, and we're able to do it at the end, so shows how special this group is.
Nick, you don't have a comeback like that without composure. You fan on the first shot and you get it back. I'm thinking all you can be thinking is get it to the net. Yeah. To have the wherewithal with that little time on the clock to make the pass across the ice, give us an idea what's going through your head at that time.
Well, I fanned on the first one, so I thought I'm not going to let that happen again. And I knew KC was over there. If we can get the goalie moving just a little bit, we might be able to create something, and he made a great play. Fetz was standing in the perfect spot in there, and yeah, that was nice.
All right, a happy but very exhausted Nikolai Ehlers after the game. Hey, listen, he's been with this club for a long time. He's been part of the playoff disappointments for the last few years. He's heard a lot of the naysayers speak about this hockey club. Ehlers was asked if this is proof that this hockey team is able to rise to the occasion and win the biggest games.
We obviously didn't get the start that we wanted today. And, they got another one at the end of the second period. But there was belief in this group. Nobody was hanging with their heads. We looked at each other and said, we're not done playing hockey yet. So it was special.
More from Ehlers. And like these guys will be talking about this game for the rest of their lives. They'll be seniors. They'll get together with some of the fellows, and I'm sure they'll talk about that Sunday night in Winnipeg, Game 7, double OT. But this is Ehlers on the feeling in the room after overtime. Here's what he had to say on that.
I was pretty gassed, I'm not going to lie. I'm standing here and my legs are a little shaky. I think in games like this, like I said, these games are special. You don't get these very often. To be able to come back in the third period like we did and battle our asses off in overtime, it's really special. And we did it as a group today, so we want to carry that forward.
So there's Nikolai Ehlers, one of the heroes, and thank God Nick came back because you get a couple players, impact players like Velarde and Ehlers back, and at the same time you lose your number one center and number one defenseman, and they somehow found a way. Kyle Connor, huge part of the Jets' victories in the series, and of course with the primary assist on the tying goal by Cole Perfetti. Here's what AFC had to say about the win last night.
It was fun. It was great to be a part of. I mean, heck of a game. Obviously glad that we finished on top.
You guys spent the whole season talking about scar tissue, calluses, being ready for moments like this. Is this proof that you guys can handle it?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a function of the series too. We talked about there's certain flows in the game. It's going one way. There's moments where you got to take it back over. It goes the other way and just stay in the fight. Obviously we didn't like our start. It's they're up 2-0. How are you going to respond? What are you going to do? So we grabbed everybody in the room and just kind of refocused our attention. And we got to our game and down 3-1, a couple minutes left. Like there's no quit in this room, and took it over. And I thought we did a great job in overtime. Had a lot of sustained zone time, and it was just a matter of time.
All right, Kyle Connor, in typical KFC fashion, sort of matter-of-factly, just going about the big win, the biggest one that I'm sure most he and his teammates have been a part of. Certainly the most dramatic, albeit in the first ever Game 7 here in Winnipeg. Most of these guys had played in one other Game 7. That, of course, the second round against Nashville back in 2018. It didn't look good after the Faxo goal, and the Jets went into the room down 3-1. Here's what Kyle Connor had to say on the message after 2 periods to his teammates.
Guys were upbeat, chomping at the bit. There wasn't one point where I don't think guys believed in here. You just kept playing, kept fighting.
Describe the composure that everyone on the ice showed with the clock winding down before you guys tied that game.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to do. Go out there and play. You can't worry about anything else. That's what this group did a great job of throughout the whole season. There's moments, and we always talk about building and preparing ourselves for the playoffs. And there's been situations that I can remember through the year. It's just like that. So it almost goes muscle memory, knowing your routes, knowing your job, just playing for the man next to you, and getting it done.
There's Kyle Connor, who is coming in with a pretty impressive playoff beard. Just imagine what that thing might look in another month if the Jets can keep rolling in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Here's just one more from Connor, and this was on the mood in the dying seconds of the third period, and of course he was on for the tying goal.
I didn't even know what time it was when we scored. To be honest, I knew it was winding down. Just try to get a puck centered and get it to net.
Here's that moment like that when it's in.
Probably the same way you guys are feeling. It's euphoric. It's emotional. It's motivating. We use that to overtime. I thought the crowd was incredible. They were felt like they were standing on their feet, loudest they've ever been, and I've ever heard them. So it was great, and I think we just fed off that and just kept rolling, and it gives you that extra energy to dig in when it's back your shift and bear down.
All right, so there's Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets after the big win last night. Let's hear from the captain, Adam Lowry. He spoke after the game on the winning goal in double OT and just the craziness of the Manitoba Miracle.
It's hard to put into words, but I think just our mantra from training camp: get better every day, focus on the process, and the results will take care of themselves. And just really proud of the guys. You get down 2-0, Game 7. It kind of feels like it's an insurmountable lead, 3-1 late. But, to score 2 with the goalie out and, just have life and, Fets to really bring the building to its feet, with 1.5 seconds left, it was incredible. So, a wild game, but, it's our group. There's not a lot of quit in here.
Definitely no quit. I don't think there's ever been an example of that than what we saw last night. Let's hear from Cole Perfetti, who, of course, was etched his name into Winnipeg Jets lore forever with his performance last night. Here's what Perfetti had to say about scoring that tying goal in the dying seconds.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's kind of what you dream of. It's playing in a Game 7, first time ever doing that. It was awesome playing in front of this crowd. It was incredible tonight, and some great plays late in that game. Vladdy gets us going, and then a lot of that starts with Gabe and Lau's down low, battling and exhausted, but battling through and winning puck battles. And then Fly makes a great play to KC. He makes a great play to me, and just kind of chipped it in. And it was again, no quit. Like, guys were exhausted, but fought till the last second, and we got it done.
All right, there's Cole Perfetti looking damn good in that Howard Chuck Strong hat. And that Howard Chuck statue saw a lot of action before and after the game last night as Jet fans hit the streets after the most incredible comeback that pretty much anyone had been a part of. Back to the captain. Here's Adam Lowry on getting over the first round hump and what this could mean for the team moving forward.
Like, I think we hear about it more than we truly believe it. But it's nice to kind of have those questions, put to rest that, can this team get out of the first round? The way the group played tonight, we're down Scheif, our number one center, one of our best offensive guys, such an important piece. And we lose JMO super early. We go down to 5D and look at the minutes those guys played, and different guys stepping up, like, Fetz to score that goal to get us back in the game, and, to score the goal to keep us in the game and keep our season alive is, like Fetz said, different guys stepping up, and that's what you need to have to win at this time of the year. And I'm just excited, that our group gets to continue with this opportunity. We've worked really hard all year. We put in a lot of time. Have a great regular season, and such a hard-fought series. The Blues played incredible. Their stretch from the Four Nations on, just to get in the playoffs and playing as well as they did. They should be real proud of their effort, and I'm just happy the good guys were able to prevail, and we can move on, and really looking forward to the second round. It's going to be a heck of a series with the Stars.
All right, the captain, Adam Lowry, and listen, he Neil Pionk shot it. It went off Lowry. It went past Jordan Billington, and the series was over. Here's what Adam had to say about the winning goal.
Yeah, it's incredibly special. I probably dreamt that it was a little nicer than just going off my leg, but it's one of those things on the outdoor rink in the driveway. You dream about being the hero in a Game 7, giving yourself a chance to continue chasing that Stanley Cup, and to do it in Winnipeg at home. We have such tremendous fans, such tremendous support, and just really happy that we can continue playing in front of them. They've been such a blessing for us all year. It makes it a real tough building to play in. We feed off that energy, and to feel how kind of the momentum shifted after Vladdy scores, and Fetz has his second of the game, and it almost felt like the ice tilted, and we were really able to start controlling the play, and kind of had some great chances early in overtime, and really fed off that. So just super happy, and super fortunate to get to play in front of these amazing fans.
All right, Adam Lowry with some love for the crowd last night at the Canada Life Center. We will get to one Blues clip. And listen, Arniel and Montgomery, I thought both had great series. They certainly gave us some interesting sound bites. But Jim Montgomery, after a crushing defeat, spoke about the pain of a loss like that.
I've had a few painful ones. I've had overtime Game 7 losses. Like, it's anytime your season ends, it's painful.
But to be that close in 2.2 seconds.
Yeah, it's an area of our team that has not been good all year. And it's an area I have to get better at so that our team's better next year in that pulled goalie situation.
Jim, that's what I was going to ask you. Why do you think the 6-on-5 was such a tough thing for you this year? And could you take us through that game-tying goal?
Yeah. Well, the game-tying goal breaks a stick, and we think we can get the puck and win the battle. Unfortunately, we didn't, and we're out of structure. And that's why there's an odd man. There's 3-on-2 at the net. They whiffed on their one-timer, and it went right to a guy at the slot. Like, sometimes, for whatever reason, puck luck in this series, if you look at the home teams, the puck luck was incredible. That's why I think you ended up with 4 wins by the home team, 7 wins by the home teams.
All right, there's Monty, Jim Montgomery. We're going to have Craig Button jump on in just a minute. But let me fire out the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. And listen, there's a lot of contenders. I think I know the suspects that will be at the top of this list. But in your mind, if you had to single out one guy, who's the hero of the Manitoba Miracle last night. The Jets 4-3 double overtime win over the St. Louis Blues. Let us know in the chat. We'll get to that coming up in fan feedback for Fans First in just a couple of minutes. Hey, what was it on Friday? We were doing our read for Royal Sports. And I read that message from Greg saying we know the Jets are moving on to the second round, and that's why we've restocked all of the whiteout gear with new white hoodies and shirts, pants, hats. Greg was onto something. And let me tell you that the whiteout section of Royal Sports will be doing some boffo business, I'd imagine, over these next few days as more and more people, maybe some of the people that were part of the Doomsday Cult they've now exercised themselves from that and are now fully all in. I could understand it. I mean, listen, there was a lot to get over, but they did it. And now I don't know why you wouldn't believe in this hockey club moving forward. So get down to Royal, get your whites ready. While you're there, check out all the new bikes that are coming in the back. Of course, soccer, softball, tennis, baseball, you name it. They've got it at Royal Sports, including the best selection of whiteout gear, including exclusives you won't find anywhere else but over at Royal Sports. And, man, we got a lot more playoffs to watch at Boston Pizza as well. Now, the first two games of this series are going to be in Winnipeg. It'll then shift to Dallas for games 3 and 4. But tonight and every night for the playoffs, BP is your local playoff headquarters. And make sure to get in on that amazing new playoff menu with the Scoville Showdown for you hot wing lovers, the All-Star Canadian Poutine, which was amazing, and of course the new Triple Pep Pizza and the Wingman Pizza as well. It's all waiting for you at Boston Pizza. If you are staying at home tonight, we'll get to Leafs Panthers in the Coolbet Lines a little bit later on in the show. You can always get it hot and fresh to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. I know there's many celebratory little brown jugs cracked around the city after that game last night. Let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, listen, before we bring in Craig Button, let's get to some fan feedback brought to you by Fans First. Your number one spot for buying and selling tickets on the Winnipeg resale market. Fans First has no fees. So what you see is what you pay. And certainly the best spot if you have an extra couple of pair of tickets you want to get rid of. Best customer service for sellers and fast and prompt payment the very next day after the game. I asked you who the hero was last night in the game. And there is a lot of coal in the mix. Gotta be Prickfetti, 91 from BA Split. Waiters, Cole Perfetti, Pat plays well, Smiling Cole. Jeremy Svensson and Yitzhak Cohen both dropping a vote for Neil Pionk, who certainly deserves some consideration for that. Perfetti 100% says Tracy O, Ken 007, T Will, it has to be Prickfetti. And I think we did a poll on this a little earlier. Perfetti was number one at around 70% and then Neil Pionk was second and in the 20s. Keep your feedback coming. The chat's never been popping like this before, folks. In the chat, thanks again, and don't forget, Fans First for all your secondary ticket needs, especially for the playoffs. By fans, for fans, no fees. All right. What a treat to have Craig Button on such a fun day. Craig's coming up next, and this segment is brought to you by Ben Moss. Ben Moss is proudly Canadian-owned and operated with history dating back more than 100 years with 3 locations in Winnipeg, Polo Park Shopping Center, St. Vital Center, and Kildonan Place. Ben Moss is committed to customer satisfaction. You can check out a large selection of Canadian mined diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and mined diamonds available with payment plans to suit your need. For more information, see them in store or check them out online at benmoss.com. Ben Moss, because love is timeless. Wins like last night are timeless as well. Let's bring in Craig Button to talk about it. All right, let's bring in our pal Craig Button. Craig, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm almost still shaking. I cannot believe that happened. Thoughts on the Manitoba miracle last night here in the Peg?
Yeah, I mean, what a great term, a miracle. But you know, when you listen to the players post game, Hustler, you know, they talk about the belief. They talk about, that they felt that they were in the game and that they had a chance to find a way to get on the right side of the game. And there's times when players and athletes talk for the sake of talking because it's the right, what I would call narrative. But there's a difference between how Winnipeg was talking about it and their players, because it was about, you know that they believed it. You knew that they had everything going there. And yeah, there were alarm bells going off for the Winnipeg Jets in Game 7, but at the same time, those alarm bells didn't deter them. And that's not built up by going, oh, we're down going into the third period, let's get at it, right? That is built over the course of a season. That is built over a number of different scenarios that you're confronted with. Knowing that you have what it takes doesn't mean you always get through it, but it means that you know what it takes to get past it. You know that you've had a record of accomplishment in doing that, so it gives you confidence. And so when the players talk, like, and you know them very well, and having watched them for a long time like I have, and everybody has, you know that those were words that weren't empty words. They were really ones that they knew and believed in. And you think about a team that had some roadblocks in front of them. Think about the injuries. I mean, they started the series without Ehlers and Velarde. Then they lose Scheifele. Then they lose Morrissey. Morrissey's trying to gut it out at every turn. He realizes, I can't. I'm going to hurt the team. This team, it has shown a real capability to find ways and players moving into situations to contribute. No different in a significant miracle in Manitoba Sunday night.
You know, Craig, I look back at Game 5 when, they didn't have Ehlers, they didn't have Velarde, or Velarde had just come back, but Scheifele comes out. They got a kind of yucky goal that goes in that ties it at 2. And the way that team played through the second and third period to lock down Game 5 and get that win after 2 really ugly games in St. Louis. And I was on with Jamie and Sarah yesterday on the Jets channel going into the game. And, I thought that in some ways, and this was just me, my feeling towards the team, like what they proved that they could do in some of the most adverse conditions against a great opponent, put themselves, it almost readied them for, to embrace Game 7. But my God, for them to lose Josh Morrissey early, Mark Scheifele not out there, it really was something that took, much like Game 5 did, it took every single player on that bench to put forth all-time performances.
And, we hear the term, your best players have to be your best players. And yeah, your best players have to play. But I'm a big believer in this adage, is that you need all your players playing to the best of their capabilities to win in the playoffs. I don't think there's any question that the Jets got exactly that. Even Toninato, who comes in the lineup, right, gets in there, you can look at his minutes, but you go, he gave you the best of what he had. And that's all you can ask for from your players. And if you're Scott Arniel and the coaching staff. And one of the things that, we've watched over the course of this season with the Winnipeg Jets is that when players went down, Alex Iafallo is such a valuable player because we've seen him jump up to the first line. We've seen him jump to the third line. We've seen him play on the fourth line. He that versatility is so valuable. We've seen Nemesnikov and 2 players that are signed, into the future for the Winnipeg Jets because their value is so significant. Nino Niederreiter, there was a little stretch there in March where, Nino wasn't going as well as he can. Appleton, maybe not. But Scott Arniel never wavered in his belief in knowing what they can do. And I think that as you go through it, Hayden Fleury was brilliant last night. You know, when you think about what that defense group was asked to do, they only had Josh for 2:09, 2 minutes and 9 seconds, and now they're asked you're asking players you're not just asking players to play more minutes. Those are demanding minutes against really, really good competition and really, really good players. And I thought that blue line took control of that game over the course, as the game went on. And I'm not talking in the overtime. I'm talking third period, second period. And when you think about Kevin Cheveldayoff, how he's built this team, how he's got players that have that versatility, that can add value. Because if you're a manager and you think you're not getting injuries, then you're delusional. And Kevin's not even close to delusional. He deserves a lot of credit for building a team with players that I use the term flex through your lineup and contribute. I don't think there's any better example of it than that game in Game 7, because that was a good St. Louis Blues team with a lot of confidence.
You know, just while we're talking about the blue line, I mean, Dylan Sandberg is and continues to turn into, a guy that could be an anchor of this blue line for many, many years. But my God, the game that Neil Pionk had.
I got to interrupt you here. He's already an anchor. He's not going to be an anchor. He's already an anchor.
Well, sorry, we saw it last night throughout this year. But on top of it, I mean, Neil Pionk sometimes is a player that, listen, I mean, you watch this team night in and night out, you know how important he is. But my God, I think when we look back to Neil Pionk's time in Winnipeg, the way that he stepped up last night under the circumstances without Josh Morrissey, I mean, those two individuals, what did he have? 46-15. Dylan Sandberg played 44. Both of those two, I mean, listen, we'll be talking about Adam Lowry and Cole Perfetti with the goals, and a legendary performance by that pairing.
Hermantown Twins.
It's so wild, isn't it?
Well, I mean, Neil too. It's funny when he signed his contract extension, and you know this. Lots of people, oh my God, Neil Pionk, $7 million a year. Like, oh my God, and all they're really telling you is they don't watch Neil Pionk because they don't know how good Neil Pionk is. And I'm in the studio last night, and I kept joking. I go, you want to know what a $7 million defenseman looks like? Watch number 4. And people were going, yeah, he's probably worth more. And I'm not here to say, I mean, Neil's happy. The Winnipeg Jets are happy. Bottom line is Neil Pionk is a hell of a competitor. He's so smart. I could have taken about 35 clips from last night, the way he plays bigger players, the way he reads the play, his game sense, everything that goes with it, along with his competitive level. And you take him and you take Dylan DeMello. I mean, Luke Shannon, I talked about Hayden, but, the benefit for the Winnipeg Jets is the pressure and the burden it takes off of Josh Morrissey. There was times when Josh had to do more of the heavy lifting. Can you imagine your Josh Morrissey thinking, I got to leave this game? Like you know how hurt he has to be to leave a game like that? Like it's significant. And yet those guys go, hey, listen, you've had us, we got you. And I mean, as alleviate pressure, make sure you don't give them any advantages. Smart. I was just impressed. If I sound speechless, it's not because I am speechless. I'm just trying to find all the right words to describe the effort by those 5 defenders in that game last night. It was phenomenal. It's one for the ages. Not just the miracle in Manitoba, but one for the ages by those 5 defenders.
Listen, we're on to the next day. We've slept, got up, and I still am pinching myself and going, oh my God, that actually happened. You mentioned Scott Arniel, Craig. Dealt with some serious adversity. No Scheifele to begin with. Your number 1 defenseman out. Connor Hellebuck having, some issues, and maybe we'll dive into that. But just thoughts on how he handled the game, the line matching, the changes that he made, and the faith that he had in his top players to go and get it done, and came out. Just thoughts on the coaching and Montgomery for that matter.
Yeah, I'll stick with. I mean, I'll be quick on Jim. I mean, Jim's a good coach. Doug Armstrong knew that when he made his coaching change. He recognized, hey, listen, this is a top coach. We got to get him. And I mean, Jim went in and turned the St. Louis Blues into a playoff team and nearly got them through a first round. And certainly a really good coach. You know, when you're Scott Arniel, and it's one thing to say you have faith, but his faith is based on knowing. And when you go through different situations over the course of the year where you can test players, it's an 82-game schedule, and the Jets have been a phenomenal team this past season. They've been the best team in the National Hockey League combined for the last 2 years, and Scott's been a big part of that. But when you go through it and you see, okay, I know that player can handle this. I know that player can handle this. I know I can put this player here and he can do this. Like, that faith is built on a confidence of a lot of experiences over the course of a season. You don't want to get to a playoff game, like let's just use last night's Game 7 as an example, and you go, okay, what do I do now? Like, Scott's got his finger on the pulse, and he can look at it and go, I know what I can do here. I know where I can play. He knew that he could play Pionk on his offside. Like, you know, you lose a left side defenseman. He knew he could swing him over there and alleviate to get more minutes for him, right? And I think that knowing what Iafallo can do, knowing what he can do within his lineup, he's not guessing. You know, when they say, oh, the coaches went to the blender, the good coaches never go to the blender. They already know what the ingredients are going to work well in the blender. The coaches that don't know are the ones that are putting it in the blender and don't know. Like, they're just hoping for something. Scott was not hoping for anything. He had a belief and a faith that, based on what he's seen over the course of the year with these players, that they could get the job done under these adverse conditions. And they delivered. And I mean, Nemestikov could have won the game by himself 3 or 4 times. I mean, you talk about a brilliant performance by Vladimir Nemestikov. It was like he was brilliant in every regard. And he wasn't the only one, but Scott knows what they can do. And I think that's significant.
Well, and the funny thing about it, Craig, is that they were so fortunate for the most part with injuries throughout the year. I mean, they didn't change very much because they were winning the way they were all season long. And then to be dealt with missing at any given time, Velarde, Ehlers, Scheifele, Josh Morrissey, it was incredible. And the way that he handled, when the team was down, moving to basically 3 lines, moving Alex Iafallo up, and, the tweaks that he did certainly got it done. And then it became up to the players. But I'm not sure that anyone became more of a legend last night than Cole Perfetti. And, I mean, all year long, we've talked about how different Cole is this year than he was last year. And Craig, even in the first 5 games of the series, he was all over it. It was a little snake bit. It seemed like it was going to come, but my God, 2 big league all-time goals last night on the biggest stage for Cole Perfetti.
I'd watched Cole for a long time, and he doesn't lack confidence. He doesn't lack ability. The Winnipeg Jets, I don't think there's a better team in the NHL and with respect to development and patience with development. They draft really well. They're patient with their players. I mean, they get accused of being too patient. But when you have the record that the Winnipeg Jets have of development, I believe that they take players, they put them in spots that they can handle to a certain point, and they don't extend them like in the spots where they're not ready. Cole Perfetti was a healthy scratch at points last year. He was down but they're working with him and they're working to develop him, just like they did with Dylan Sandberg. And you see where Dylan Sandberg. But there's many, many examples over the years with the Jets under this administration led by Kevin Cheveldayoff that they do that. So now you got Cole Perfetti, who's going to be 24 years of age, and he already is 24. He turned 24, I believe, in early January. But it takes time. We all want players to get there yesterday. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, Hustler, that we listened to, oh my God, is Perfetti ever going to make it? Is Perfetti going to do it? And the Jets, because they're so good and they see, as long as you're showing progression, they're going to stick with you. Now, Cole, you're learning in the NHL. You're the 10th overall pick. We know you're good, but there's different things. And not everybody's on the same timeline, yet everybody wants you on the same timeline. And I think that Cole, Kevin Sawyer mentioned it last night. He goes, understanding how your game can translate when you have less space, less time, when you got to get in there and really, demonstrate a willingness to dig in and battle for any extra space you get. That's part of growing. That's part of learning. I wish every player could get there at 19, but it's rare. And what you see now with Cole, it's not accidental by Cole, and it's purposeful by the Winnipeg Jets. You've heard me say this. NHL teams fail players far more than players fail on their own. It's because they put them into positions that they can't handle. They put them in positions that they're not ready for, and that's why the players fail. And that's on NHL teams. Winnipeg Jets don't do that, and they get the benefits and the rewards of what you see, not just with Cole Perfetti, and the playoffs are made for legends to emerge, right? We saw that with Cole Perfetti in Game 7.
Well, and listen, it'll go down as an Adam Lowry double overtime winner, the captain of this hockey club, the heart and soul of this team. And Craig, I'm not sure there's more a fitting end to a game like that, with the captain getting the goal. But this started with Adam Lowry being Adam Lowry deep in the Jets' own end.
People throw out the term 200-foot player, right? And then I get it. It becomes a descriptive narrative, and then it works. Adam Lowry's, I don't know what the square footage of the rink is. It's 200 by 85. You can figure out the square footage. Whatever that square footage is, that's what he is. But there's no area of the game that he's not fully invested in, like mentally, physically, competitively. And that winning goal starts with Adam Lowry behind his net below the goal line, making a great defensive play. And then you look at what he did up in the offensive zone, ultimately getting in front of the net and deflecting that Pionk shot past Binnington. I mean, that is because in the playoffs, it's even more important. Every single play has to be treated as critically important because you never know what play will end up being critically important. So when Adam Lowry steps out on the ice, he does it during the regular season too. But in the playoffs, and last night was another example, he treats every single play as critically important. There's times, and I know in the first period, he wasn't winning faceoffs. But when it came time, it doesn't matter what you didn't do before. It matters what I'm going to do right now. Adam Lowry is the heartbeat of this team. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise. Nobody. And you don't always have to be like, Bob Gainey, when he was leading the Montreal Canadiens in Stanley Cups, they all talked about him being the heartbeat. And, there's players that have high-end skill that are the heartbeat of their team. There's players like Adam Lowry that might not have the high-end skill like a Scheifele. He's the heartbeat of this team. And his interview after the game, he includes everybody in terms of his leadership. He knows that everybody matters. Everybody's included. He's not afraid to put demands on players, but he doesn't judge players, and he doesn't have this friction amongst his teammates. He knows that everybody is going to contribute, and he's going to make sure he helps everybody contribute. And it's a crime that he's not a finalist for the Selke Trophy.
Craig, you mentioned the heartbeat of the team, and I absolutely agree. The one other guy that I think, we would say is sort of the heartbeat of the team is Connor Hellebuyck. And, I mean, there's no other way to put it. He was not himself. He wasn't anywhere close to the standard that he's set. I'll just simply ask you, what does the Game 7 win in the fashion that it took place do for Connor Hellebuyck moving forward past this now that they've got out of the round despite him not being even close to his best?
And we know he wasn't at his best. And let's make this point, and that Connor Hellebuyck has set a bar so high, right, that even just a little bit below that bar is like, wow, geez, you don't see that very often. There's some real challenges. Last year's playoffs into this year's playoffs. And I think for Connor, you look at confidence, and you could see that at times he wasn't sure of himself. And you think about elite goaltenders, and he's the best goaltender on the planet right now, in my view. But you struggle. You can see that that players can struggle and they find it. I think that maybe Connor's biggest fight was with himself, was with his own confidence and knowing that he could do it. When that second goal went in by Matthew Joseph, you're thinking to yourself, here's what I was thinking to myself. Let me be clear. I'm thinking to myself, okay, this has been the top goaltender in the National Hockey League for 2 straight seasons. He's the best goalie on the planet. I had him number 1 on my Hart Trophy ballot. I'm thinking, how am I going to handle this narrative of back-to-back playoff performances where he didn't come close to where he's doing it? And, where you got to point out that he hasn't been good and at the same time recognize how good he is. And then after that second goal went in, I don't know what he did, but he found his level, number 1, of confidence, which led to him being literally unbeatable. And he had to make some really good saves at different points in that game where, Velarde steps out below the goal line, little turnover, great blocker save. I thought Connor Hellebuck, from second period on, was the Connor Hellebuck we all know is the best goaltender on the planet. And I think the encouraging thing about it is it just built. I think it built and built and built and built for Connor over the course of the game, where now you're going, it is going to take some wacky bounce to beat Connor Hellebuck, because it just felt like that's the Connor Hellebuck we all know. More importantly, that's the Connor Hellebuck knows. And I think that goes back to confidence. And I think that is really important. He knows now, I can win the big game. I can find a way to get on the right side of things. Doesn't matter what you did before. Sergei Bobrovsky in 2023 was not the Florida Panthers' go-to goalie. In Game 5, they were down 3-1 going into Boston. He became their go-to goalie. Led them all the way to the Stanley Cup final. Comes back the next year, leads them to the Stanley Cup. Doesn't mean that you don't have bumps along the road. We saw it with Bobrovsky, a Vezina Trophy winner. We've seen some little bit of stumbles in the playoffs with Connor Hellebuck. When you're an elite goaltender, you just got to try to find your way back. And I think for Connor and for the Winnipeg Jets, he showed every signs that he's back to being that top goaltender on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know what happened the rest of the series, but they got Connor Hellebuck back just in time last night.
Yeah, well said.
And I can't wait to see what he can do going forward against the Dallas Stars. Craig Button's with us. Craig, before we go, I mean, listen, it's still going to take a day or two. I'm not sure if people will ever stop talking about what happened in Game 7 yesterday, but there's another series coming up, and we don't know who's going to be healthy, who's going to be able to play. But for a team that dealt with so much through the first round against a real quality opponent like the St. Louis Blues, to survive and move on in the fashion that they did, what can this do for the team moving forward? And just thoughts on the series against Dallas.
I think both teams find themselves in a similar boat, don't they? I mean, you start the series without Ehlers and Velarde. You lose Morrissey and you lose Scheifele. The Dallas Stars don't have Heiskanen and don't have Robertson. You're behind in Game 7. It doesn't look good for you. All of a sudden, every players step up, your team steps up, and you find on back-to-back nights, down by multiple goals in the third period in Game 7, both Dallas and Winnipeg found a way to do something that's only been done 3 times previously in the history of the NHL. And they're good teams. You know how good Dallas is. Dallas knows how good Winnipeg is. Winnipeg knows how good Dallas is. And I think it sets up for a great series. If anybody wants to suggest that Winnipeg can't win because they're uncertain where Scheifele or where Morrissey is at, they started without Ehlers and Velarde. And if you're going to underestimate Dallas now or overestimate them, they showed they can win without their top players. They play a style of game that's very similar. They're tight. They have really good, what I would call team commitment to doing things. You can't find a way to win a game like Dallas did and Winnipeg did without knowing that you can stay in a game and keep your head above water. Both those teams are hard to push out. And I think that it sets up for a fantastic series. If you're the Winnipeg Jets, I think this serves as an opportunity to show that, hey, we went through some adversity. Let's start going. They beat Dallas over the course of the season, and I don't see any reason why Winnipeg can't win again.
Craig, I can't thank you enough. I know you were up late. Everyone was up late last night to come on today, have this great conversation, and knowing that hopefully we can do this again a couple times as the Jets are still alive in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's a pinch me moment for Winnipeggers that I think is going to continue throughout the day. But thanks so much for coming on. We always love having you, but this was a special conversation today.
Yeah, it was. It was a special night in Winnipeg. You know, they talk about, Stompin' Tom sang the song of Sudbury Saturday night. Well, Manitoba Miracle Sunday night. Who's gonna do? Maybe Chantal Krabiatsa can do it. But it's an automatic yes when you ask me to come on. I love being part of the show, and I love being with you, Andrew. So you ask, I'm going to make every effort to be part of it. So thank you.
I can't thank you enough. And as I said, hopefully we can do this again really soon. Craig, enjoy the start of round 2. Thanks for doing this, and we will catch up soon. Really appreciate you, pal.
Thanks.
All right, Craig on such a special day and a special show here in the Peg on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Man, this month is going to be so awesome now. We got a best of 7 series beginning on Wednesday with the Jets and the Dallas Stars. And meanwhile, it is 28, 29 degrees outside, and the boys of summer are back. The Goldeyes begin their season this week, and we're counting down to the home opener 2 weeks tomorrow, Monday, May 20th, down at Blue Cross Park. Go to goldeyes.com for more information on tickets, group tickets, suites, patio party rentals as well. And stay tuned to Winnipeg Sports Talk. We will be finalizing a June date for the WST patio party, which you're all invited to. And we'll probably do a couple other group days, not necessarily on the patio, but just in the ballpark as well. So stay tuned with us. Good luck to the Fish as they travel down to Cleburne, getting ready to start their season later on this week. And of course, it's not just the boys of summer that are back, but the ponies are back as well. How about that Derby on the weekend? Kentucky Derby, sort of the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. And it certainly was, I believe it was Sovereignty that ended up getting the win. But we're going back to ASD beginning next Tuesday. May 13th is opening day. They will be doing some Mondays, but it's mainly Tuesday, Wednesday throughout the summer with additional Mondays. And we're actually going late this year, all the way into October. So get on down to Assiniboia Downs beginning on May 13th for live racing. And Remis and I will start our head-to-head battle. Another season of picks, us versus Remis, beginning next week on WST. AS Downs for more information on booking, clubhouse dining, and more online. And hey, I just got a text from my buddy Corey over at Breezy Bend. It wasn't time for the Jets to be golfing just yet. The rest of us, though, with this weather, hell yeah. Breezy's open right now, as most of the courses are, and Breezy's getting ready for a huge year because Breezy Bend will be the host of the 2025 Manitoba Open. We'll be there later on this summer doing some live shows from Breezy for the biggest tournament of the year. But the course is in incredible shape. The clubhouse improvements are shining right now. If you want more information on potentially making Breezy a long-term golfing home for you and your family, talk to Corey Johnson about getting on the waiting list. You can also get more information over at breezybend.ca. Shout out to Scotty Scheffler, who nuked the competition at the CJ Cup on the weekend. And man, this PGA is going to be looking good. All the top players, Scotty's been winning, Rory's been winning, Bryson's been winning on Live. Oh man, it is going to be great. I cannot wait to get out to Breezy Bend. All right, we got to get to the Coolbet Lines for today. And listen, congratulations to everybody that participated in round 1 of the playoffs in the PEG contest. I think we're going to be doing it a little differently for this next round. I'm just confirming tickets, but I do believe we will have some more to give away. And I think we'll be doing it for Cool Betters. So we'll set something up. We'll have more details tomorrow as this series continues once we just confirm the seats. But we'll have a sign up where you pop in. We're going to need it. The one thing is doing it through social media has been tough because sometimes people don't check their Instagram or their Twitter very much, and it's tough to contact them. So we'll have a sign up where you'll be able to put contact info for us if you win, as well as your Coolbet user handle to be eligible. And listen, if you haven't already, it's a perfect time. Get over to coolbet.com, sign up. If you're making your first deposit, make sure to use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200. I have put together a WST parlay for round 2 that Jake and the crew are going to be cooking up very soon. But this is what we're looking at. Jets to win the series. And we'll get her about a plus 140 underdog here. Jets to win the series. Cole Perfetti over 1.5 goals. Nikolai Ehlers over 1.5 goals. And Neil Pionk over 3.5 points. I got to think that with Josh Morrissey likely out for some of the series, if not all of it, depending on like prayers up, hopefully he can play. Pionk's going to be doing some heavy lifting. And listen, Perfetti and Ehlers, these are the guys that have been stepping up, Perfetti in particular, and they're going to need to in the absence of certainly Mark Scheifele right now, although hopefully Scheifele can be back. So we'll have that in the exclusives over on WST. If you're listening to this after the fact, it should be up there right now. But as far as the series goes, let's just get to a few of the props that we've got cooked up. I am getting a Neil Pionk prop to get added to the list. But right now, when you go down to the series prices, what do we have here? So the Jets are a plus 141 underdog, which means bet 100 and the Jets win would pay you 100 plus the 141, so the return would be 241. The Dallas Stars are minus 172 favorites, so a pretty big favorite, I would say. Perfetti over 1.5 goals in the series is even money, plus 100. Ehlers over 1.5 goals is minus 133. Over 5.5 games for the total is minus 200. What do we have? Mikko Rantanen's total goals in the series over 2.5 plus 115. Rupi Hintz is also 2.5. And this is a bet that I actually cashed on the St. Louis series. Was Jets to win game 1 and win series. That was minus 115 for the St. Louis series. It's plus 230. So if you like the Jets to get out to a 1-0 lead and you think they can win the series, that's a nice one too. At plus 230 as opposed to plus 141 for the series. Pionk, total points in the series, over 3.5, plus 115. So that one's locked in. And the Ehlers points for the series is 4.5. Over is minus 110. Kyle Connor's total points in the series, 6.5. So we've got quite a few options for you there, folks, over at Coolbet. And again, if you are already a Coolbetter, great. Stay tuned. We'll give you an idea about how to get in the draw for our Coolbet tickets for round number 2. And as I said, if you haven't already, go over, sign up, get an account. You'll also be able to join us for the poker tourney. We're just looking at this schedule. Unfortunately, the Jets and Oilers are on opposite days. So we're going to try and lock down a date for the May tourney, and we'll let you know about that coming up in the show over the next couple of days. Other series prices, we've got the Leafs and the Panthers. The Leafs plus 150 underdogs, and the Panthers minus 182. Panthers the biggest favorite of round number 2. Leafs the biggest underdog. The Golden Knights and Oilers is a pick'em. Minus 110 on either side. Vegas has home ice, right, Reem? Yeah, they won the division. So Vegas is at home in game 1. It's minus 110 on either side. So basically a straight up pick 'em for that one. We mentioned the Jets plus 141, minus 172. And then the Caps and Hurricanes, exact same number. So funny. The Jets and the Caps, the number 1 and 2 teams overall, both plus 141 underdogs in round number 2 against the Hurricanes and against the Stars. And both Winnipeg and Washington have home ice advantage. Now, we have one game tonight to get things going. It's the Panthers and the Leafs in Toronto. Leafs, home dog, plus 105. Panthers, minus 123. Remo, I actually like the Leafs in this game tonight to get off to a good start in this series and off to a good foot on home ice. What do you think?
I don't know, Panthers, they just steamrolled the Lightning, who was like I don't want to say call them underdog because you know the success they've had, but they made Vasilevsky look like nothing. They've got a really solid team. They play Paul Maurice hockey, but hitting everything, and they got Marchand, Sam Bennett, solid defense, solid goaltending. Watch out for the Florida Panthers here. So I don't know. I'm curious if the Leafs can get it done. They've kind of rebuilt their team a little, and in the style of Craig Berube. I like some of the bringing in Brandon Carlo at the deadline. We'll see how it works out. I'm not sure if they're able to hang with the Panthers. They're both coming in rested. So
yeah, I mean, listen, I think the Panthers likely win the series, and the odds indicate that. But I'm going to roll with the Leafs tonight, a plus 105 to get off to a good start. Hey. Now tomorrow we've got 2 games. The Caps and Hurricanes. Caps plus 103 home dog. I will be on the Caps in that game. Again, I don't understand why they're such a big underdog against Carolina, but I will take it. Canes minus 121 on the road. And then tomorrow's game 1 between the Oilers and VGK. Vegas minus 135, Edmonton plus 114. And game 1 between the Jets and Stars is on the books here in Winnipeg, where the Jets are 4-0 at home in the playoffs. It's a pick 'em. Minus 110 on either side. So there you have it. And I did just get a text from Jake. Shout out to Jake. The exclusive is up right now, plus 950. So almost 10-1. Jets to win the series. Perfetti 2 or more goals. Ehlers 2 or more goals. And Neil Pionk over 3.5 points in round number 2. It is all up for you at Coolbet right now. And as I said, stay tuned, you cool bettors. We're going to have an opportunity for you to win tickets to the playoffs here on WST in the coming days. Remo, this has been one of, a show that I think we always thought we might, we always hoped we would be able to come on the air after something as thrilling and as exciting as we had it, as has happened today. But it's feeling more real after talking about it for the last 2+ hours. I will tell you that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of wearing off that feeling of, hey, did we really just witness that? And, you're starting now, 12, more than, or almost 12 hours since I went to bed yesterday. Like, oh, there's a game coming up. And, we've done the whole debrief. It's like after a loss in that series, we needed the day after to let it all out. And then it was, okay, they're back at home. They've got a chance here. And, game 6, it was pretty bleak. We did the show Saturday, getting everyone ready for game 7, Ooh. Which seems to be pretty necessary. So, yeah, I think everyone's sharing their videos, how they were feeling at certain points in the game, and it's fun. But soon it'll be time to turn the page and look ahead towards game 7. We're talking about all this euphoria here, all the great feeling, but it's not such a great feeling on the other side in St. Louis. And I do have memories of being at game 5 and watching Jaden Schwartz score, and I'm getting a little good feeling watching the
We
tables,
owed them this.
The tables turn.
Yes. As all part of the Jets Revenge Tour 2025.
Yeah, and so someone on X has Naz at NazOB tweeting, tried to record the reaction to the Blues winning Game 7 and instead captured the last-second tying goal. Have you seen this video?
Oh, please. I have seen it once, but I would love to see it again, and I'm sure all our listeners would truly enjoy it as well.
You truly enjoy it. So, like, this is going around. This is something here. So, I mean, everyone with their hands on their heads saying, oh my God.
Was there like one Jet fan in that bar that was jumping up and down? Or was that a Blues fan that thought that it was over and they had won?
That was a Blues fan who thought, I don't know what he thought. He
you can see the one guy jumping up and down before he puts the camera down.
Yeah, I don't know. That guy thought it was over. Like it was like 2 seconds left. And the Jets managed to score. And, St. Louis, they were trying to ice the game. Like, they just kept icing it and taking it to the Jets zone and not shooting. And they were just clearing the puck over and over again. And the Jets decided, hey, we're just going to shoot it, on net and try to get rebounds for the last, 10 minutes of the game.
Hey, pull up that Icy Vert tweet.
No.
That poor kid.
Oh, yeah.
And listen, as a Winnipegger that grew up knowing a lot about
a
lot about pain of losses.
I
mean,
team in the history of the NHL. Oh my God! I mean, I don't know where I stand on using your kids for social media. Likes like that, but this is pretty entertaining here.
Hey, not our kids. And hey, listen, I empathize with that young man. We were all those kids with the hands of the Edmonton Oilers back in the 80s and 1990 after Dave Ellitt's incredible double OT winner. And again, the Blues, they got their cup. An incredible season, probably ahead of schedule for St. Louis as to when they expected to sort of be back and be a real competitive playoff team. And they absolutely were. And the number one team in the NHL for the 2024-25 season got pushed to the brink and needed a damn near straight up miracle to get it to overtime and win in double OT last night. One of the other things, Reem, that, we could spend a lot of time doing is checking receipts.
Yes.
And I will say this is not just on Blues fans. And I think I'm going to avoid really flaming the Jet quote unquote fans that were absolutely killing the team, that said it was over after game 4, that they were toast after game 6. And listen, there was a lot of freezing cold takes online last night. But a lot of people that I've heard, I believe the quote is, I've never been more happy to be wrong in my life. So, listen, I get it. There was a lot of baggage. There was a lot of scar tissue. But hopefully what we saw last night just sort of backs up what we saw from this team all year long. An incredible team that will not quit with a ton of heart and an incredible display of men stepping up when called upon and when needed, when you're down your number one center and your number one defenseman. As I say, the receipts are out there and they are aplenty, especially on our social channels.
Yeah, and our comments have been flooded by Blues fans. They found our post-game reaction videos. They were all in WST Sunday Live yesterday, chirping everyone, even chirping, going back to a video that streamed in the morning at 9 a.m. There were a couple wise guys going in during the game and leaving comments just to troll everyone. So this one was David G, who commented on our YouTube channel. And I went in and got home at like 1 a.m. and responded to these. He writes, Blues fan, maybe they could borrow Mikko Rantanen for the third period. And
Great usage of the eyes emoji.
I just use the eyes emoji. I mean, Kyle Connor is tied with Mikko Rantanen for the league lead in playoff points. And then Ray Coffey wrote around the same time, maybe it was after the Faxa goal, I don't know, we want Connor, which is in our entire TikTok comments on any of our videos. It's just Blues fans writing, we want Connor. So if anyone is really bored and wants to go, I posted a video of Arniel after Game 6 or Hellebuck ones. There's Blues fans in there. It seemed to push it to Missouri. If you're bored, go and reply to the comments. I've done a couple for fun, and I responded to this guy. You want him, you got him. And there's more. Here's some more YouTube comments. Hellebuck has yet to prove it. He is a big-time goalie. He's never come up big in the clutch. No matter what anyone says, that has to be on the mind of every Jet player. And I think I had got this comment a lot, even coming into the playoffs, that he has never been a good playoff goalie, which
that's bullshit.
Which I kept saying is bullshit. And I'm not here for absolutes. Anytime people comment in absolutes, I guess that's what you do on the internet. I'm happy to point out that they're wrong, and I'll gladly do it. But yeah, I mean, he had shutouts in 2018. They went to the conference final, the series against Edmonton. He was pretty good. The last, 3 playoffs this season and the last 2 playoffs, has his numbers been good? Absolutely not. But I would say that he definitely came up big in the clutch, in overtime, and the third period after the Faxa goal yesterday.
It felt like we got our MVP back.
Yes.
I mean, listen, I didn't even like the third goal. I mean, I didn't think he played it particularly well, but man, third period, first OT, second OT, he really looked like a different goaltender.
Yes.
And I don't know what it was, whether it was the ridiculous insanity of realizing that they didn't lose the game and were going to OT, but this was the opportunity for Connor, I don't want to say necessarily to redeem himself, but be a huge part of a historic victory, of course, of which he was. And for all the we want Connors, like you said in the chat, Remo, be careful what you wish for. Because I think that in a lot of ways, this victory is going to free him of whatever baggage that was sort of holding him back in the first round of the playoffs. He has played incredibly well against the Dallas Stars, as have the Jets. And when we think about the game on March 14th here in the PEG, the April 10th game in Dallas, the way that they played the Stars early on in the doubleheader day before the West Final, I mean, the Winnipeg Jets have played some damn good hockey against the Dallas Stars, and they'll be ready to go. Of course, tomorrow we should have, listen, I say an update. I don't know whether we're going to really get anything from the Jets on Josh Morrissey and Mark Scheifele. Might be just talking about guys that are day-to-day. Certainly, hopefully, we don't hear anything like Morrissey's out for the series. I'm hoping not, but we saw last night that this team has a lot of players. The depth all season long, Reem, like how different guys stepped up. I mean, a victory for the ages, and so many guys with their fingerprints all over it, despite the absence of 55 and 44, 2 of the most important players on this team.
Yeah, that would be a big blow. So we'll have to wait and see tomorrow. I think we all want to see updates on injuries. And we were getting so ready, too, to hear, okay, I wonder what this guy's dealing with. What's that guy dealing with? But we're going to have to wait to hear about all that because there's another round to play. And going on with the tweets, do you want me to keep going with the comments? Or?
Sure, yeah. We've got to go. By the way, just before you do that, I want to give a shout out to Kim Sawchuk. Kim, thanks so much. Dropped a super chat in. Beer money for you all. Thanks for keeping us up to date and for the fabulous content all year round. Cheers, Kim. Thank you very much. I will take you up on that beer.
Yeah, Darth Skater. I don't know if did you read his Entirely Possible last night's game? One of the greatest moment in human history. Not wrong. No.
You know what? I'm co-signing that, Darth.
Yeah.
Definitely co-signing. And Darth Skater, as I say, even if you weren't before like me, now I think we have to believe in the Force and May the 4th, because it was a May the 4th miracle in Manitoba. And I think the Force theme could be something that we could really use moving forward, although we might get sued by Disney.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think they're coming out with something. They're going to come out with a T-shirt with the score bug of 3-2 with like 2 seconds left or whatever it is. So I think there's a lot of potential there, and I'm curious if there's any good runway footage maybe in the dressing room after the game or whatever. I'll have to wait and see because they've done such an amazing job on the Jets YouTube channel with runway. How's this comment, Huss? You said on the Saturday show, one of the best goaltending matchups ever. And this guy says, come on, this is not going to be one of the best goaltending matchups of all time. Hellebuck is not it. This team isn't built for the playoffs. It's looking like the Jets are either coming out of this round tomorrow. If they don't win, they are soft and will be a laughing stock in the league. Best record, best goalie out in the first round. And I was like, hey, man, like this is a soon-to-be 3-time Vezina winning goalie versus a Stanley Cup winning goalie who also just won the Four Nations. It's pretty good.
Have some respect.
Pretty good matchup to me. So that guy got proved wrong. And how about this? Have you heard about any of these people? Someone commented on our YouTube reaction video, mine and Connor's. A guy says, I know someone who left the game when they were down 3-1. Can you imagine?
There is definitely some people. I didn't want to go there, and I'm not going to say anyone personally, but there absolutely was people that left the building early. And listen, if you did, I would love for somebody to own up to it and actually drop in the chat. Like, I can't imagine what it would have been like being all pissed off, walking out of the building, going to get your car or whatever, turning the radio on and hearing Paul Edmonds lose his freaking mind after Cole Perfetti had tied the game up. And then it was going to OT. And there's no re-entry privileges at Canada Life Center. I mean, although maybe those people say, you know what, I was just bad luck. I needed to get the bad juju out the building. Bottom line is there was a lot of people. Listen, there's been a lot of takes. This is sports. This is fandom. Everyone's got it. But like over and over, some people hammering on the same players, hammering on the team, hammering on the coach, hammering on the GM, all people that are basically up for NHL awards, I might remind people. And listen, if they had lost that series, for sure would have had some tough conversations. But I think when you think of everything that this team dealt with, injury-wise, not to mention the baggage that, they carried coming in here, I really started to believe Game 5 for me, Reem. When Scheifele went out, you didn't have Nikolai Ehlers, and the way that the team rallied to play some of their best hockey in the entire series. And that's why I said this to Jamie and Sarah yesterday. I was acting as a hype man for Jets fans rolling in on the check-in. I had a lot less of the crippling anxiety going into Game 7, and it was more genuine excitement. And listen, the team, the fans certainly embraced Game 7. I think, as Scott Arniel said, I mean, this is unique and it's a new experience for a lot of players, and I'm not sure they handle it particularly well in the first period. But again, like all season long, they found a way. They stuck together. They believed in themselves. And tell you what, I know there's been a lot of people that have been very, very loud critics. And at some points, I think not wanting to really appreciate or give the Jets their due for the season that they've had so far, because it makes some of their takes look really bad. Be one of those people that say, I've never been more happy to be wrong. And let's move on to round 2 against the Dallas Stars and get things going on Wednesday night.
Yeah, we could keep going. I mean, I'm thinking about games that I was at that people left early. The one that came to my mind was 99 Canada Games baseball. Not Canada Games, Pan Am Games baseball, Canada, USA. And Canada had an incredible comeback over USA, and people left early. But I'm seeing in the comments, Adam Douglas says, my cousin in the lower bowl left. He's owned it. He knows he's an idiot, and he'll never do it again.
Schnitzy, after I left Princess Auto Stadium in 2017 when the Bombers were 12 with less than 2 minutes left, had to listen to the Andrew Harris walk-off on the radio by the hot dog stand. Vowed never to do it again. And Eaters LOLs and no re-entry privileges. That is that is exactly right. Hey, listen, there's a lot of takes. Leslie Mitchell, I've never left a Jets game early ever. The only Bomber game I left early was that crazy rain delay against Edmonton. Had to work the next day. Couldn't stay for the restart. Yeah, that one's a little different. Paulo, you guys should try and set up a Discord. Dude, we got a pop in Discord. You got to get in on that. Remis out. Yeah, for people, maybe new people around here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, first and foremost, please. Give us a thumbs up for the channel for today's show. But Reem, mention how people can continue the great chat that we have on Winnipeg Sports Talk when the show's not live on the WST Discord.
Yeah, I'd put an exclamation mark Discord, or you can go to the link, and there's a link in the chat right now, or if you're on podcast or just watching later, link in the description of the video. You can sign up, and people are chatting all the time in there about the Jets. There's channels for Bombers, channels for NHL playoffs, channels, meetups, just about everything. So it's been a great community. A lot of real-life friendships have formed because of this community that we've built here. And you've seen that at the many events that we've had. And that is one of the really cool parts of us, starting Winnipeg Sports Talk, building this community. Because I felt like before, there's a bit of a one-way street. You'd be on the radio, and you just do your thing. And you never really got to know a lot of the people who listened.
The texts were just like random numbers.
Yeah.
Like you didn't know who people were. And now, I mean, basically from the chat today, and then I guarantee you they'll be talking about this one all night long in the Discord and probably nonstop until about 8:52 on Wednesday night.
Yeah, Waiters, who's a frequent contributor, says, go into the Discord and scroll back to 6:30 p.m. last night for some of the posts in there. I think it's tough to scroll back, but hey, I'm going to own it. Like when Hellbuck let in that, the second goal by Joseph, and he just scored 2 early. And it looked like, the puck handling's shaky. You're scoring from distance shots. I'm like, oh, did they look to pull him? I don't know if I'd have, the balls to do it, but like he's giving up goals that you hadn't seen. But after the Faxa goal, he looked like prime Hellbuck. Looked like a Vezina Trophy winner.
He came out of the locker room after the second period and reemerged as the cornerstone of this hockey team. Royal Sports, Remis, is Discord used more on a computer or on a phone? I know most people have the app on their phone, and then I guess there's a similar thing. I know I have it on my computer.
I go on the website. I also have the phone app too. People are like chatting during the games, like road games or home games. It's shared experience. So you could do phone app or on the website. It's pretty fun, and again, some great conversations always happening in there.
And you know what? Another good reminder, I guess, link in the description, get on the mailing list.
Oh, yeah.
And this is we're not throwing a million things out to you, but when there's special events going on, you'll know about it. Things like the round 2 Coolbet playoff ticket contest. And you won't miss anything that's happening on WST, both contests, giveaways, and obviously content as well that might be outside of the regular show at 1:00.
Yeah, I try to send out a weekly newsletter. I didn't do it this Saturday just because the game was Friday and we didn't have any content. Maybe I should have. It's been very busy, since playoffs, but especially when there's events, we let everyone know events and other contests and whatever great content. We'll do a best of the week, and maybe I'll do one tonight saying, hey, this is what was on today's show, and here's what's coming up. So I have the link in the description. It is on our website as well, winnipegsports.com, and there's a comment pinned in the chat too.
Hey, Schnitzy, I'll say it again. WST's efforts to give us a place to connect is championship thing. Listen, thank you, Zach. It's great. I mean, listen, we've got so many great people, and we've created like an unbelievable community. So if you're new, come on in. The ride's just getting started. Get on the Discord and join us daily. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. You get the podcast wherever you get it as well. Great stuff. I love that. I'm always here for a good wrestling reference, Reem. Eric Jurlefson. Hellebuck was like the American badass Undertaker and came back as the dead man Undertaker to keep the puck out. Amazing.
I'm here for all wrestling references. So, he was like Undertaker coming out of the casket, sitting up and propelling the Jets. I mean, that giveaway. There's a giveaway. I think of Velarde behind the net tried to shovel when it like bounced off someone right in the slot. There were a couple chances where you thought the Blues were going to end it. Every time they had the puck or anytime anyone had the puck, you felt like, oh, this could be it. And I saw someone in chat write that their heart rate during overtime was 124, which is absurd. I had mine. Like I couldn't type. Like I was trying to take notes or text people. Like I was shaking. My heart rate I think topped out at 105 during overtime, which I think there were some people in Discord who said theirs were higher. And I'm
glad I wasn't hooked up to anything because it probably would have been dangerous.
I had mine, so it was pretty. Fun.
I'll tell just a quick story before going back. Ticono Pauly, I use Etch-a-Sketch. LOL. Ticono Pauly, you're the best. Thanks, buddy. So the goal happens, and I need to give a shout out to Mary Lee. Great Jet fan. There was a single seat in our row that was available, and she picked it up for this game. And I didn't talk to her very much earlier on. I was more talking to the people, like the buddy that I was with and the people on the other side. But there she is, the Era's white T-shirt. She sits down, and I got talking to her, and I guess she often goes with her husband, and they have seats, I think, a few rows back. And I'm not sure he had something or couldn't make it. And she's like, screw it, I'm going to the game. Picked up a single last night. And when Perfetti scored that goal, I hugged this woman so hard. Afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, I hope I didn't break her ribs or anything like that. It was just the craziest moment. But I told her, I said, you should check out WST. You, Mary Lee, are getting a shout out on the show tomorrow. So loved the commitment. She was positive vibes all game long and was right there until the end. And so the goal happens, Reem. We go crazy, snapping pictures with people and stuff like that, watching the handshakes. And then you get out into the pandemonium of the concourse. And I got to tell you, elation. As I said, it was part like the happiest I've ever seen people, and then other people walking out just still, well, especially after Perfetti tied it. That was the true disbelief. But then winning it in the fashion that they did. Now, we saw a kind of quick replay, but it was like it's in, the party started, everyone's going nuts. So we go downstairs and hang around the statue and see a bunch of people. And then I got a ride home with a friend of mine. And we popped in just to have a beer after the game and sort of debrief, if you will. And it was at that point where we're in the bar with a couple of other people, and we actually got a chance to see the final 30 seconds of the game again. And to watch that with people that were at the game that hadn't seen it in the hour or whatever that has stopped in, it was like it was happening all over again. It would have been hilarious just to watch our reaction to watching what we saw with our own eyes, and we knew that it happened, but you almost had to see it again to believe it. And what can I say, Reem? A record-breaking show today on WST, cracking over 1,200 live. We've still got well over 800 right now. I think plenty of new folks, and hopefully a few new people subbing to the channel and joining us every day at 1 p.m. And turning on their notifications, because there's a whole lot more content coming your way with WST. I want to give a special shout out to Connor, Liz, Jacob Stoller for the amazing contributions that they've done. And today was the all-time Victory Monday show. Tomorrow, I think there'll still be some aftermath from last night, but also getting ready for the Dallas Stars. And if you can believe it, Remo, we are back at Canada Life Center on Wednesday night and Friday night as the Winnipeg Jets get going again in round 2. Now that they've gotten over the first-round hump and did it in the most spectacular fashion possible.
Yeah, I mean, I can't watch enough of the reaction videos, the ones from the crowd, people at home. Who did I see? Eric Howardchuk watching at a bar in Arizona, like wherever, the street party videos that the Jets are throwing out. Their social media has done such an incredible job covering, everyone, everything going on with this. So round 2, here we come. It's been fun looking back at round 1. What an experience that was over 2 weeks, and we'll do it all again. And I can't wait to see, what the coach or what the team says tomorrow after the skate, and we'll talk about lineups and all that fun stuff. But today is about just basking in the glow of this incredible
enjoying
finish.
Every second of this, people. You Jet fans, you've earned it. I mean, especially the ones that have stuck with this team, and heard a lot of negativity about them. I mean, listen, I get it. I mean, no one has to do anything, but I really feel that there is something about, being there for your team in the good times and in the bad times, when things are going well, when, you're getting some tough breaks or the team's not playing well. And, man, the fans, the team, everything last night was just pure magic. Many are saying, Remis, not me personally, but many are saying that it might have been my emotional fire-up message on the check-in yesterday with Jamie Thomas and Sarah Orleski that had a huge role in the events of last night in the crowd. I personally don't necessarily subscribe to that, but many people are saying that.
Yeah, it was a nice day. It was such a great day in Winnipeg yesterday, and people asking, how are you feeling? Well, I'm like, you got to think positive, even without Mark Scheifele. You have to think at home, they've still got a shot here to win. You need Hellebuyck to play at his best. He waited until the third period in overtime to do that, but they were able to score 2 goals with the goalie pulled.
We got to get back to being the defensive juggernaut that this team is. Like, they had to win this series in a number of different ways with the games. And listen, Helly wasn't himself up until when they really needed him to be in Game 7 in overtime. But I mean, you look at the 3 wins that the Jets had against Dallas, they got 1 or 0 goals in all 3 of these games. Now listen, they're a hell of a team. They've got Rantanen now. But remember all the people that said there was no way they were beating Dallas on March 14th? Well, they did. What about going to Dallas on April 10th? They did. That's why they're Central Division champs. That's why they won the President's Trophy. That's why Game 1 and Game 2 are at Canada Life Center. So there's many different ways to win. I think the model for the Jets is getting back to that really stingy defensive identity. And if that's the case, you got to get some guys to step up and score a few. But if you're not allowing a lot and your goalie's back to being the MVP, Connor Hellebuyck, this team absolutely has a chance to win. And I'll tell you what, I like the value on them at plus 141 over at Coolbet. Gang, I don't know. We've all barely slept. It is definitely, although I still don't think I'm going to be able to sleep, to be honest. Maybe a little bit of resting and relaxing, and then catching up this game tonight. But I think more often than not, it'll just be reading everything and consuming everything for a game that none of us will ever forget. We'll have more on this tomorrow. I can guarantee you that. And we will start looking ahead to round 2 against the Dallas Stars. That is going to do it for us today. Wow, we're almost 3:43. Well, hey, there was ever a time to go for one of our longest shows ever, this would be it. Hey, Knoxville, thanks for the super chat. Enjoy your show, boys. Feels like home again. You love to see it. Anyways, folks, hit that thumbs up if you haven't. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. This was one of the most fun shows I've ever been a part of. And last night, certainly one of the most fun nights I've ever been a part of, and frankly, the most incredible thing I've ever experienced in my sporting life. If anything comes close to that again, I will feel very fortunate. And who knows what's to come now that the Jets and Stars are getting going now in the final 8 of the Stanley Cup tournament, looking for a trip to the conference final against the winner of the Vegas Golden Knights and Edmonton Oilers, who start tomorrow. Great stuff in the chat, you guys. This has just been so much fun. Really appreciate all the super chats from everybody and just the good vibes. We said going into Game 7, it was positive vibes only, and that is certainly the case today. And I dare say, I think the old Jets doomsday cult has a much smaller membership today. I think a few people were finally made believers last night by this hockey club in the most spectacular fashion possible. Thanks to everyone for being with us. Join us tomorrow, 1 p.m., live right here on YouTube. A huge thanks to all the sponsors that make Winnipeg Sports Talk happen every day. And a special thanks to Mike McIntyre and the one and only Craig Button for coming on today. Stay on top of all our socials. Remis has taken it to a whole nother level right now in the playoffs with the content that we're churning out. Connor, Liz as well. So at Sports Talk WPG on all those socials. Make sure you give us a follow there. Link is in the description. And whatever you do, have yourself a great night. Enjoy it. Enjoy this gorgeous weather. Get ready for Wednesday night. But first, join us tomorrow, 1 p.m. right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. How about that, everybody? Jets going to the second round. Have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow at 1.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.